It's been a while since I've got a cut.
Hold on, I can't see. Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I haven't decided if I'm gonna like keep it long or if I'm gonna just like buzz it all down.
All right, it's
It's not a decision I've yet made.
It's time to do science.
Speaking of
There we go.
science,
The
Your
good
token is
scientist
fully
always
updated.
has backup glasses. But I think these ones are actually just too dark, and or maybe almost the same.
wait, hold on. I might have. Oh,
I've got 3 pairs of these.
I,
So
yeah, I know. I
like-
think I have a pair of them also somewhere as well. Okay.
All right.
How do we-
These ones might just be dirty.
Think of like Trishy. Pop it out.
Then
And
For reference for other stuff. Okay.
Okay, I'll be good to go in just a minute. Trying to find one misplaced thing.
no word.
do you know if there's a way to modify specifically your like second attack and third attack? Oh,
What do you mean?
In what way? Sorry.
on Roll20. So when you're creating a new attack, is there a way to modify the stats to like add additional damage or additional effects that are on your second attack and third attack, or no?
I don't know. I've never looked at that.
I think no.
To help with remembering it, you could probably just like put a little note in the attack macro of like plus X to attack 2 plus Y to attack 3,
Yeah.
if would help. Oh, and you need a token update.
So many updates.
Oh, wrong one. Wave. That's such a cool commission.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
both of the commissions turned out really good. Tevin's and mine.
Mm-hmm.
I know my sister did a great job. So did yours, Colin. Yours came out great.
Your sister also did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colin. Was it your sister?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Hit points.
Well, if it was, she did a great job.
What eyeballs did you have, Colin? Did you have dark vision or low light or okay?
I have dark. I love that. What eyeballs does your character have?
Oh, jeez. All right, here we go. How are we doing this? Get over here so I can see better.
Okay, delete old wave and okay. Both of the swaps should be totally good now.
Just squeeze everyone's webcams in here. Beautiful.
Discord does a perfect way on my monitor where I've squished all the way to the right and it just like tiles them one on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
they
have
all
mine
just
on
fit
a pop out.
perfectly.
Not in that area any. Beautiful, except every single one of these is slightly different sized.
All right.
Oh no, I've just rotated this. There we go. Okay, finally got that set up right. Okay, I am good to go when everyone is. Is anyone still fiddling with stuff and settings, or
Ready to
are we good to
rumble.
get going?
No, I'm good.
So to start off, does anyone wish to recap what happened last time?
Previously on,
Dungeons
Consumed
and
Oleg.
Dragons.
Not
this is Pathfinder.
Same thing.
Nope,
Dungeons
two
and
different categories
paths.
in Twitch.
Do they actually have a Pathfinder role playing game category?
They do.
That's fun.
I just also realized that I forgot to put your name tag on there. Beep. There we go. Now you've got it. But yeah, I personally I like to do player-driven recaps because that helps me understand what stood out to you, and also if there's any major details that like your characters would never ever forget, but it's been 2 weeks real world, it gives me a chance to oh, by the way, you're currently poisoned and dying in 6 rounds if you don't treat yourself. Remember that.
Fair.
Sorry, I forgot it away.
we started by getting the Restov charter and being sent off to come here, but the Restov charter basically is like, you're granted the ability to explore and do what you wish here, and also bandits must die. That includes you if you become a bandit. So witnessed on this day of blah blah blah. Was there anything else super important in there? No, except that other people likely have similar charters from other nations that are in the area. And we came here to... Didn't I have notes somewhere? This guy's house, and his name
Oleg.
is...
Oleg.
Oleg! Google Docs. His
I
name
also
is
put notes in
Oleg,
the notes in the
and this
summary
is his
section.
encampment / our future base of operations, where we'll be operating out as we travel and explore into the what's this area called again? It's the something lands.
Thick of it.
Into the thick
The
of it.
Stolen Lands is
Stolen
like
Lands.
the large area, and the specific area you've been sent to is called the Green Belt.
The green belt. Okay.
I didn't know that. Or
I just saw the word green belt written somewhere. Oh, it was on the Restov charter. That's where it was. And we found these Oleg has these bandits harassing him. The bandits work for Kressel. So does Haps, who is one of the bandits that we killed, I believe. And they both work for Kressel, who is a sassy tiefling lady. And they have a camp along the Thorn about 25 miles from here. I also learned about Bulkan, an alchemist that is in the swamp. And Brevoy is near a civil war. There's also a blood mage named Dovin, who potentially works for the Stag Lord, who is kind of like a big bad bandit leader in the area. And we had a big fight, and we won our fight handedly.
Yep.
Kind of.
I have the pendant. It was a pendant, right? Necklace, pendant,
Yeah.
the stack head. We just
Correct.
finished interrogating.
Just finished interrogating and picking up some stuff. I picked up the 2 bottles of alchemist fire that one of the guys had for future research. I don't know if anyone else picked anything else up. That was all that I intentionally picked up.
I put the rest of this stuff in the quick reference
yeah.
or the party
Party
inventory. But I think, yeah, there was alchemist fire that was picked up in the medallion.
I might use that scale mail eventually. I forget. Is scale mail medium armor?
I don't know off top of head.
At some point, way farther down the line, I'll possibly / probably transition into wearing some kind of armor and doing other things.
Scale mail is medium.
For now, I have my own scales.
For now, I'm using my skin.
My skin works just as well.
Oh, and I got a hero point.
Yes, you did. I forgot to announce it during the session, but you did in fact get that.
Oh, what for?
The opening double crit on one of the bandits.
Fair.
Hero
Also-
points are just a new system on my end, so it'll take a bit for me to get in the flow of it.
Also, what do we actually use hero points for? Are they like inspiration or?
So they're closer to the 5e lucky feat. I have expanded it a little bit beyond the base game, what you can use it for. Basically, anytime that you roll an attack or saving throw or like a d20, basically, you can, after knowing the results, so finding out that it failed, you can then use a hero point to re-roll it and take the better result.
Okay.
Likewise, if an enemy attacks you, you can use a hero point to have them re-roll that attack against you. Finally, you can use it to not die. If you would die, you can use all of your hero points to instead not have died from that particular thing and just be unconscious.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that you can't just die 6 seconds later, but in that exact moment, you are alive and asleep.
Mhm.
It does not matter how many hero points you have for that one. It's just all of them. It wipes you to 0.
But that means you can have more than one.
Yes, you can store up to 3. If you are at 3, you cannot get another one.
Okay.
And
Do we all start with one or is 0?
Everyone started with 1. A couple people started with more than 1.
oh, I will adjust mine to 1. All right, cool. And this is evening time.
So this was early morning.
morning.
So it was on the first of the new month, the bandits would come shortly after sunrise. You've finished up the fight and you've displayed the bandits outside the fort to intimidate the others, bringing you to late morning or so. Oleg, after a time, vanishes for a bit into the storeroom before coming out with 3 small red vials in his hand. And he says, "You've shown that you're capable fighters and warriors, but you may need a little help with the rest of them. Please, take these. They were brought to me by Bolkan a couple months back. I hid them from the bandits. They help cure wounds."
Oh, elixirs? What
And
brand are they?
I'm not sure. They're made by the man in the swamp. I don't know if he's really got a brand.
Swamp brand it is.
What brand?
But he holds out the 3 vials, which let's see, gotta remember people's names. Gerrit, Gerrit,
Gerrit.
Gerrit. Gerrit, you easily identify them immediately as elixirs of life.
I can
Minor.
make these.
Neato.
So does he.
Wonderful. I forgot to make some of these today.
And anything else that I can aid with? You have a free food and bed here for your lives, as long as you wish to come.
Provided that the other bandits get dealt with.
Yes, yes.
We do need to rest. Some of us are looking a little hurt.
I'm fine.
Some of us.
Can we go over how healing in Pathfinder, generally, what options are available for healing in Pathfinder?
So the long, safe healing is just you sleep for the day or for the night, rest for a day, spend a full time, and you gain, I believe it's your level plus constitution modifier in health back. It takes a long time to do that if you're significantly injured.
Right.
Or you can attempt medicine checks if anyone is trained in that. That heals you much quicker.
Just setting up this. If I can find. Go ahead.
Yeah, but a medicine check is at a DC 15, assuming you have tools. You can, with 10 minutes of work, heal someone for 2d8 health. And if you pass that check, you can instead spend an hour instead of just 10 minutes to double whatever your number was. So that will get people at this level range back to full health very quickly. The overnight 24-hour rest is sort of a last case scenario situation.
So can you just continuously heal?
So you can do treat wounds on each individual person once per hour. So if there's just like one person that was super injured and that's the only person you care about, you treat wounds, that takes 10 minutes, and then you can extend it to an hour to double it, and at the end of that hour, it has been 1 hour since you started, so you can immediately make another check.
You kind of like work on 2 people at once, or do you have to do like an hour for a person?
There's
an hour
a
for
feat
another
for
person?
that, actually.
Yeah, there's a feat to do 2 at once, though also if you're not extending it to an hour, like say you've got 5 injured people, you could do 10 minutes with person A, then 10 with B, 10 with C, 10 with D, 10 with E, and then you've only got 10 minutes till you can treat the first one again, because it's almost been an hour. Yeah, the hour cooldown is from the start of the action, not the end of it. That is the important note to make.
So we might want to spend a couple hours doing some medicine.
Yeah, some medicine. Because I had already just failed on Wave and myself, and then so we would have to wait for the remaining 40 minutes and then get back to it potentially.
Right. Yep. So, if you wish to just take some time to rest and wait, you may do so. Oleg mentions that he will have food out in not too long.
All right.
As I recall, it was actually what's your alter ego's name?
Oh, Hack.
Hack, yeah. He used toilet paper instead of the bandit.
Yep.
Right.
More successful.
I'm sure he'll get this down eventually. He's
Yeah.
Maybe
You know,
as used to.
This is just, it's been a while. I've been like kind of moseying around up in the up in Restov for a while. The travel in life is a little bit rocky sometimes.
That's fair.
Remind me, we got horses, right? These are our
There
horses.
did.
Yes, the
Yeah.
bandits came in on horses, which you then corralled inside.
We have to spend an action taming them, or is that just something that we can just ride?
These horses already seem well trained, comfortable with people. You can just ride them.
Okay.
A wild horse you'd need to put some more
Okay.
effort in, but these are.
I want to
already
go over
pretty
here
well-trained.
and claim a horse and name it.
I think one of them already has been
Yep, I think
named.
One of them is already
one of them
named.
is named and claimed, as a matter of fact.
Yes, and this horse was Oleg's horse, I
Oh
believe.
yes.
The other
there it
four
is.
were
Yeah,
the ones
The other
you
one
brought
has
in.
it has a nameplate underneath of it. It was like Thunder something.
Thunderstep.
How do you name the horse? Do I do that, or is it just? Oh, I
Um,
see. I found it. I found it.
So our horses, like at this point, kind of without any special training or specialization or stuff, is basically horses are meant for traveling and they help you get from point A to point B. And if you're going to
Yes.
go into combat, you leave them behind.
Yeah, you could definitely tell by the skitterishness of them right after the fight that these are not war horses. They are not comfortable with the loud noises, explosions, violence, and blood. These are traveling and pack horses. You would probably want to dismount before taking any sort of engagement with them, lest they just become totally uncontrolled.
Fair.
Cool.
I think that we had kind of gone over like any amount of damage would send these horses pretty much reeling.
Yes, it would be an active effort to try and get them to do what you wanted them to do if they were at all harmed or spooked.
Fair.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm down to just like take a couple hours to medicine ourselves up and then
Couple
head
hours
out
with some
on some horses.
All right. Oleg brings out another rather bland, somewhat boring, but a cut above rations meal for breakfast. A few meats and cheeses along with some local vegetables. With that, you may pass the time and attempt some more medicine checks with hopefully better results.
Also, just for so we can mark it down, how many of the potions did he give us?
3.
3.
And they are minor.
Okay. I put them in the party inventory for now. And a time for the medicining.
And just as one quick note, something that's just like generic loot that you're gonna sell at some point, totally fine to be in party inventory. Elixirs of like well, not just elixirs of life, but like potions, consumables, that can make a real difference on just what actual person is on in a fight.
Very fair.
So I would ask that you either have someone that is like basically you either have someone that actually takes them, or if it's in party inventory, it will be assumed that it's in like basically the baggage, so it'll be like in the horse's saddlebags, not on anyone in particular.
Very fair.
Why don't the 3 of you each take one?
I won't argue with it.
Sure. I will take an elixir of life.
I have also taken one. I'll mark it down.
Take some of Hack's potion.
Inventory. And
Maybe tomorrow I'll craft a few more of these instead of the Tanglefoot bags. Although it seems like according to the corpse over there, they were at least somewhat effective. I make my medicine. We're gonna get there. He's done it on myself.
So that is 2d8.
2d8. Or
And if you want, you can extend that to an hour to have that instead be 8.
I probably would be extending that to an hour to instead be 8. Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Because that'll get me to 17 instead of basically max HP.
It's been a total of 2 hours since the bandit fight now. That hour goes without incident. You're able to do this.
And I probably only need 10 minutes. Like even if you roll 2 1s, like that's
I mean, I've got to find the right tools first. Gonna make a check for wave. Hey,
Yes.
just a minor. Your shoulder's been dislocated this whole time. Hold on.
wonderful.
All right. Everyone is virtually full health, save for a
This
single
is all
scratch.
virtual.
True. As far as like resources go, like how's our like does our party use many like resources in combat? Like as far as like
I do.
spells per day or stuff like that.
I definitely do.
Don't have spells, so
HP is your only resource.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was anyone like I can use this ability once per day kind of ability that anyone has.
That's me right now with my single spell.
You
Yeah,
get 1 spell per day basically.
I get actively 1 spell per day currently.
It'll go up.
that the mutagenic flashback that I used is a once per day ability, and then I have my potions that I craft at the start of the day that basically function as spells. So I've got 2 more mutagens and then 1 of each of my bombs.
And just as a note for those not familiar, basically the way that like alchemist crafting works is you have some certain number of like free crafts that you can make at the beginning of the day
Mhm.
that go bad at the beginning of the next day. So you can't just like stockpile 4 days in a row unless you're actually crafting them normally with paying costs.
We're gonna bomb Parliament. Save up all the.
And eventually I will potentially have questions about that, like about the actual cost of crafting some of these things, but for right now, don't necessarily need to.
Also, I spent 10 minutes studying my spellbook to regain my focus.
As a just a quick note on that, who all has focus spells? I think it's just you. I know monks get them, but I think that's later on.
I don't have it yet.
Okay. So yeah, it is just you then. You are able to get it back with 10 minutes of refocusing. But with that, is there anything else that you guys wish to do within Oleg's trading camp, or are you ready to ride?
I am ready to ride.
Ready to ride.
Let's ride, cowboy.
So
We ride.
I'm going to move you to the main map.
Map.
Not that there's very much that you can see as
Gets
of
me
yet
every
on
time.
it. Yes, over here is where you will be.
Thank you.
For the moment, who would like to be the party token?
Sure.
Wave it
Wave.
is. Oh lord, that's a little bit. Let's dial that down.
No,
a
Oh,
bit.
it's
God.
perfect.
It's
We
huge.
march.
I don't know if we're gonna find a body of water big enough for that.
So, a bit about just how the map works from a game's perspective. In plane, so just like normal walking overland travel speed over plains and relatively easy terrain, you can on foot move about 1 hex per day without like really pushing it to serious detriment. If you are on horses, that is instead 2 hexes a day. If you're going through something that is difficult, like you're going through forests, swamps, mountains, those numbers are both cut to a half. So on foot will take you 2 days per hex, on horses 1 day per hex.
Okay.
Finally, the amount of weight that your horses have is going to be relevant here. I'm not going to track everything to the pound, but basically, you either can frequently just stop and graze horses, in which case they move. They don't actually increase your speed, but they do increase the amount you can carry to an extreme level, like vastly beyond what you can do on foot normally. But they don't actually help you move faster. Or you can carry the feed with you, carry grain, higher energy food, and you get the speed boost, but you can only carry about 5 days worth of horse feed before they're just going to be too worn down by the weight to actually give you a boost.
Okay.
I remember you discussing the rocket fuel problem with me a couple months ago. This was that.
hmm This is also assuming that you are like the same horses are being used to carry this as you are riding. If you get more horses, like if you just had 2 more horses than there are of you, your ability to carry stuff goes up vastly because they aren't also carrying a person.
So when we go beat up these bandits and go get 8 more horses, then we'll have enough horses to carry our entire army of put horses on top of horses, and then
Let's open
Uh,
a ranch.
As far as horse feed goes, it's incredibly cheap. Oleg has plenty, and he is grateful to you. He gives it to you at no cost, so you do not need to worry about paying for horse feed.
Cool.
nice.
So far at this trading post, everything's been for free.
We haven't gotten any of the traders here yet.
That's what happens. That's what
It's
happens. when you save
Oleg's
a life.
trading post. He's presumably a trader.
I'll give
Hey,
you a
he
hint.
is
The
a
next place
trader.
we're
Go
going
with
has a
him, the
bunch of
good
free stuff
trader.
too.
There.
Also, while Oleg does not, he's not really an explorer. He doesn't know the land beyond a short distance around him. He has been out just a little bit. So I will reveal the hex that you are currently in.
Nice.
But beyond that, it will be up to you where you wish to venture.
Question: we got a Can you rehash the directions we got to the bandit camp?
It was 25 miles on the Thorn.
2 days
He
on
was
the
killed
Thorn.
before further explanation.
Ah, me thinking I knew what that was. Okay, and how far is the hex?
Hex is 12 miles.
Okay,
2
Do,
hexes of distance.
do we know what direction those bandits came from when they were traveling in?
So as you sort of look around, you see that with the small wagon that was pulled with the horses alongside them, it's left some deep grooves in the dirt, especially after not too long ago a large rainstorm. It's probably going to be pretty easy to track so long as the terrain holds as it is here.
Nice.
I say we just
But
start
it
with
is
that.
in generally sort of a this direction.
Ha!
Before going, I do ask Oleg, do you know what the Thorn is?
Oh yeah, I've heard mention of it. It's a river somewhere southwest, I believe.
Thanks.
Haven't been to it though.
Good on you.
Refer to it.
Hopefully it's us that comes back here and not, the other guy.
Seems like we're going
Peace.
in a
I
this-wordly
have
direction.
confidence in you.
Ah.
He gives a grin.
Glad
Still
to see your
seeming
spine's feeling better.
Yeah, I think we just follow the trail of the wagons that they took, and hopefully it leads us close enough to a river that we can take.
Didn't we get a location of like the bandit? Like they were working with somebody. I can't remember her
Yes.
name.
That was sassy tiefling lady, Cressel.
Did we get a
They're at
direction?
the camp along the Thorn. That's what we're heading towards.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, he did not give you a direction, but the cart wheels are visible.
All right, cool.
And then so one other question: are you traveling at the quick speed and using food for the horses?
I think so.
So, just as a note, this is going to be something that I am going to pass to you guys to keep track of basically how many days of fast travel you still have before you need to restock.
We have 5 days
You
to
start
begin
with 5, and go back up to 5 whenever you're like at a place where you can just restock.
We have a chat channel for that.
Yes.
Just to clutter this Discord with infinite chat channels.
Let's see.
Cat
What do
channel
we call
called
it?
Horse Speed.
Yeah, horse
Horse-
feed sounds good.
Oh god.
or speed. And also
Oh,
Speed.
that's what I heard.
I think F.
It's like, or speed. I mean, I guess, yeah. Or speed. And if there's if you're just like you looted a bandit and you got a sword and an armor, that won't actually like impact this. That is trivial by comparison to all of the horse's carrying capacity combined. If you find something that is actually a substantial amount of weight, that may also eat into your days of feed if you're carrying that around.
Like a house or something.
Yes.
A house.
You know, those traveling houses.
We begin our journey at fast pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes. So
Every time Fives gets a chance, he is reading his case file on Dovin. Dovin.
Oven.
That is very, very thin, and he's just constantly rereading it. There's not much there to read, but he's just
So, about your first 6 hours or so of travel go without incident, moving over open plains, wide valleys, lots of sightlines, and clear wheat fields. Before it eventually seems to get a little more dense as trees and forest begin to occupy much of the time. Your journey slows down substantially as you begin moving forward. So, since you started relatively early in the day, you'd normally get 2 days of plains hexes. You will only have 1 day of difficult hex, so you're essentially half of a day through the forest.
Nice.
At this point, you can try and force on, but it will be exhausting and taxing to both you and your mounts. This is a point where most everyone would likely make a temporary camp and rest for a day. And you also may move yourself on the map with your token.
Setting up camp sounds fairly good to me. If the bandits are coming to attack Oleg, they'll have to pass us regardless.
Plus, we have this cover of all this kelp. Be a good place to rest for the night.
How are you doing with
I'll
lack of
manage.
water? Okay.
And so just a quick reminder for myself. It's 1 day is no issue, 2nd day is a fort penalty, 3rd day you die instantly. Is that right?
24 hour after 24 hours fort penalty, after 48 hours drown.
Okay.
Good thing we're on the way to a river.
Someone give me Colin, Wave.
Hi.
Give me a D100, just a random die, and it's 70 or above, you find a minor enough to be no trouble maneuvering over, but a stream or small body of water that will be enough for you.
No oasis, brother.
Not along this path. So, as you bed down for the night, busting out your bedrolls, I presume. I don't believe anyone has a tent. Correct me if I am wrong.
Bedroll boy.
Where is inventory?
Then
I do not. I have very little things.
I am bedroll boy.
I don't have a bedroll.
Living out in nature, I see. During the night, do you wish to have any sort of watch structure, or is everyone just going to sleep?
Yeah.
I think watches are pretty smart.
Yeah. I can take first watch.
It is, as a quick note, it is currently late winter still, so just as far as light goes, all 4 watches would be in complete darkness, outside of any light that you bring to it. There's no dim lighting situation.
Would we keep a fire throughout the night typically in this situation, or
Some would not. It definitely helps you in your ability to see anyone approaching, but it also stands out.
would you rather be
In
the
a
guy with the
forest,
flashlight?
not so much, because there's going to be no line of sight from 2 miles away that someone could see, but it definitely does attract more attention than if it just wasn't there.
I think having someone awake and alert, regardless of ability to see, would be beneficial.
Perhaps a fire for the first few watches, and none for the last few. Who all has dark vision here? I have dark vision.
I believe
have
I
low
have
light.
low light as well.
What'd you say, Robert? Low light?
Yeah, I've got low light.
And
If
Tevin, you
Wave
have
has
regular.
dark vision, maybe he should take watch.
All 4 watches?
All 4 watches.
I won't sleep. You guys sleep. I mean, in future situations, if we're traveling longer distances, we could definitely have something where, like I'm sleeping on the horse as we're traveling during the day, and keeping watch during the night or something. But like,
Yeah.
probably not in this situation.
I could also potentially Gerrit kind of like picks up the snake and like shows how it's like kind of, it looks like a snake, but you can really tell that it doesn't really actually have any like bone structure to it, and he kind of like shows how malleable part of its tail is. He's like, potentially on future occasions we could set up adipose to take watches, but not today, unfortunately.
It's a marshmallow snake.
I can. So at the start of every day, you can like go through the familiar ritual to like change their traits. I could potentially do something like give it dark vision and have it stand watch or something like that.
Cool.
I think.
But yeah, I think it probably doesn't matter too much since we only have one dark vision person. What order we do watches in necessarily? So I'll probably go either first or last, just so we have like one watch where we don't have a campfire out. But then I think campfire is a good idea for the rest of them.
Alright. If everyone just in chat, just type in a 1 to 4, just whatever watch you are going to be on.
Early to bed, early to rise.
Wait a second. Someone's trying to slip out of this. So, as everyone beds down, all is quiet for a couple of hours, and Wave, right as you're getting ready to get some sleep of your own and wake up the next to watch, you hear a small crack off in the distance, just like a branch being broken, it sounds like.
All right. Wave like snaps his attention to that direction and listens carefully without moving first to see if he hears anything else.
Give me a perception check.
First step. Perceive? Perceive.
Even with the concealment of the forest and shrubs around you, this particular creature doesn't seem too difficult to spot. You see something moving out, just barely visible, about 50 feet away, and it doesn't seem to be really moving towards you so much as just like alongside you. But into the, let's see. I'm actually going to make a channel for this because this is going to happen now and then. Art.
Channels. Infinite channels.
In the new art channel at the bottom of text channels, you see this creature just slowly walking through the undergrowth. It's about a 5-foot-tall, massive frog with huge fangs that hang down from its mouth.
Okay.
It's moving slowly, sort of stretching out one leg before just sort of stomping it down and bashing through a few leaves until it gets solid footing, then going again, just very slowly making its way through undergrowth that clearly is difficult for it to maneuver through.
Wave probably thinks something along the lines of like, "You seem out of your habitat, friend," but leaves it alone for now, unless it changes course.
It continues just plodding along, and unless you do anything to change the situation, in about a minute it will be out of your sight entirely.
Just wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything to let me speak with amphibious creatures, but I don't think I do. So, yes, we're good. I let it lumber on.
And the
A
sounds
reminder
of its
of
movement slowly diminish before fading entirely.
a reminder of how dangerous stuff out here kind of is.
But other than that, the rest of your watch goes without incident.
All right. So I get up and wake Kalat for his watch.
And waking the others, each in turn, you each make it through a watch without anything further disrupting you. Morning comes, and with it, a night lived in the Stolen Lands. A feat few can claim success.
A
Pretty easy.
little dry on my lungs, but
I'm do the crafting of the mornings.
And you also get your one missing hit point back.
Hey, perfectly calculated, baby. This time I am indeed doing what I said last time, and I am leaving one of my reagents. You see once again I reach into the like snake mouth and pull out this like kind of like glowing goopy stuff, and I'm like, actually, I'm gonna save this for later. I'm making my bombs and my mutagen and saving one for potential future quick alchemy.
What bombs are you making, just as a quick question?
I have Blight Bomb and the Dread Ampule.
Okay.
Technically, a Tanglefoot Bag is a bomb too, but that's the one that I'm not making.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's see. I'm still somewhat new to alchemist crafting. This is the thing where it's like if you do it at the start, you get 2, or you can do it later, but you only get 1. Is that right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I have my core ones, which are 2 of my mutagens, which is my Bestial and Drakeheart, that I craft 3 when I do the crafting. And
Gotcha.
then anything else, it crafts 2. And then if I do the quick alchemy, I can craft whatever I want off my list, but it only makes 1.
Okay, makes
But
sense.
can be nice for an emergency like Sunrod or Elixir of Life or something.
The things that you didn't know you needed.
One of my favorite things in Pathfinder is the fact that they actually accept and that abilities exist, where it's like, oh no, you just have this ability that says you did this thing in the past. I think it's one of like the investigator later abilities where it's like you reach into your bag and 3 times a day you have the item that you need. You picked it up this morning.
I forget. Do we have food with us, or do we have to go hunt that?
Oh,
Kyle?
I think I meant to speak to that, but then it totally slipped my mind. Oleg provides you with some free rations for the road trip as well.
Okay. Should we keep those in the party inventory, or should we each have our own?
That is something that you are fine keeping it in party inventory. If you want to keep it in your own, you can, but you can also just abstract it to days of party food. But he has given you a week's worth, and if you had the adventurers pack, I believe that comes with 2 weeks worth, bringing you to 3.
I know for myself, I specifically purchased rations. I have 4 weeks of rations. Whoops.
Nice.
And you said he provided with how much?
1 week.
1 week worth for each person.
Okay.
Change.
That's going to be a little hard to track. But we can...
Yeah, I changed mine from
Because-
being weeks worth to days worth.
Smart.
Just now.
Okay. 34. Bam.
I
One.
just edit. So 7 days. How many people do we have?
4
4.
people.
4. And 1 week.
Bum, 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 bum.
Right.
But
28 days of rations.
Nice.
with food taken care of, you're able to ration your way through meals should you so choose, and may continue on your journey. The trail, it's not quite as blatantly obvious as it was in the plains, but it's not too difficult to pick back up. Is anyone may give me a survival check to keep good track of the increasingly infrequent marks of the wagon wheels.
This is
Probably
a weak
not me.
point of mine if someone wants to take the wheel on that.
Ooh,
Also-
survival. Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
definitely not me.
Uh-oh.
Are we all the no survival?
Oh, I got 0.
I've got -1.
I mean, I have a
Zero's the
plus
contender.
1.
All right, you were the highest in the group.
Alrighty.
Take it away.
A weak point for the group. Not
Wait, hold
great
on. Actually,
to have, honestly.
incorrect. Temporarily, I am the highest in the group.
Oh,
Oh,
you
Well, actually, the
stimulate
survival
your
check
net.
takes longer than.
Yeah, this is going to be an
So-
overtime thing, so
Yep.
sadly that one will not apply.
Then never mind. I'm permanently.
I mean, it would be pretty cool for you to like overclock for the entire trip. All right, let's see what my specialized see here.
All
not
right,
bad.
that is plenty. You're able to not even lose track of it to begin with.
Hello, TWD.
Neatly following the trail as it leads you
How's-
further this way.
How's Austin?
All right. I will
I will reveal upon the map.
upon the map. So this would be another half day's journey to. I need to
So-
like.
This is going to be basically a full day of total travel time. Half from
Right.
the last, half from this.
Okay. Yeah. So it takes us another day, but we arrive at the lake, the river.
Yes.
Just in
and
time for you to not
That was
die.
2 days.
as it is growing rather painful for you, you hear the sounds of rushing water, a river, and likely a powerful one at that, up ahead.
I feel like at this point you're unable to move, so we kind of have to carry you and drop you in.
Wave is like super intent on not showing weakness, and that like, man, I went on this journey, and I'm gonna go on this journey, and if I die walking my way to this river, then so be it.
Imagine commissioning character art just to die on the very first journey. Just traveling.
Fortunately, Wave's brother.
Waves,
Ah, yes, Splash.
splash,
Here to avenge his brother.
tsunami.
Also, so the bandits would come harass him at the start of every month, right?
Yes, the first
Okay.
of the month.
For some reason, my brain was thinking that they went there to harass him like every day, and I'm like, how do they make this trip every day?
Oh no, just once a month.
Mhm.
They're
Makes
just
a lot more
passing the second group. Hey, Clyde. Hey.
It's the Wednesday gang.
We got him good this time.
Hey,
All
did you
right.
happen to pass by the Tuesday gang on the way here? Oh no.
Traveling up a bit further ahead, you eventually see what you presume to be the Thorn River, a wide, roughly 60 feet wide river, rushing current. It'd be very difficult to pass or swim through if you aren't a native sea creature. That is.
Yeah, I'll go take a splash. Let me scout around a bit, and I'll take the at least a little bit of time as we're kind of setting up for camp here to scout the nearby area via the river.
How long does it take for horses to graze?
If they're grazing, so they're basically like using their own food, or sorry, so they're not using your food. They're just getting their own slowly. Uh, it it's not a specific time length so much as like it's about half the day.
Okay.
Based on how much it slows you.
Okay. So if it's gonna take if Wave was gonna take half a day to go scout, then we could graze during that time while doing our own actions. Like no one has to be accompanying the horses while they're doing that.
No one has to be, but if you choose that, that is entirely up to you.
Okay.
Get horse nabbed.
Yeah, that someone may come across them. They may be eaten. They may be fine. That is a decision that has to be yours.
They may be stolen. In the stolen.
Who would do that? Who would steal someone else's horses?
Yeah.
I've only met nice people in this land.
Scoundrels. Like
I mean,
us.
to be fair, we didn't steal these. These were free
Yeah, they
range
had-
horses for a short time.
They were orphaned.
Very
They had no
briefly,
owner.
But Wave, as you go scouting out a bit, you can see that at least this immediate riverbank seems free of life, other than just some light vegetation along either side.
Fishies?
No, what was that?
Fishies?
Getting down into the water, you see a few small fish traveling up and down the stream or river. And the actual tracks of the cart sort of go parallel, continuing down south.
All right.
Sounds good. We got some more journeying ahead of us.
So,
Yeah, I think it's for the
aren't-
camp for the night, right?
Aren't we about a mile away from the camp now?
Depends. Could be a 22 miles down the thorn or 22 miles to the thorn.
and also just as another note, while like on here the distances are very precise, 12 miles per hex, in actuality people probably don't know 25 miles from 23 or 26.
True.
It's a good ballpark, but don't expect 25 miles that way to be precisely 25 miles.
Also, some people we talk to, 25 miles might be 50 miles. Not everyone has a great sense of distance and direction, especially unlearned bandits.
It seems like setting up camp here, because I think we might be looking to travel like actually along the river for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Seems like a good plan to me.
Set up
Are you
Another
doing
watches?
the same plan as last time?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll probably take my watch from within the water. I have the surface skimmer feat, which is
What does that do?
it is an ancestry feat that allows me to sink gently beneath the waves and obscure my presence and utilize the water as a barrier between me and land combatants.
Oh, cool.
Gives me cover against attacks from creatures outside the water, but also just like thematically makes sense as like a scouting technique.
Very cool.
It also eventually levels like a later get racial feats that allow me to like jump out of the water, grab people, and pull them in.
Assassino.
Assassino.
Your night passes without any incident, and the sun rises on the next morning.
Lovely.
Wave, you are still feeling fully refreshed.
Yay! Refreshed.
I just re-up my same thingamabobs. We're good to go.
So
we
Download-
went through a full day, so that was a full.
This is day 3 of the journey.
Okay, so we've lost eight meals.
you only have to track
8.
your own. So you just -1.
Oh, we keep track. I put them in the party inventory.
Oh, I think everybody's because I've got 33 days of my own rations.
Yeah, it is totally up to you guys whether you wish to just communal party bucket of food or have everyone track your own. Either is completely fine.
You and I can share a communal party bucket of food.
Okay.
I'll keep track of my own. Just
I'll
because
take my rations.
All right, then I'll cut that in half. And 14, and then -4. Or
16.
yeah, 16 -2.
I did not quite follow all of that, but I will trust that you've got it figured out.
Wait, hold on.
No,
So hold on. How did you? Never mind. Okay, it is 16 -4. It's 12. You're good.
Yep.
How many rations did
No,
both of you
it's
guys
not. No, wait, hold on. Weeks are not 8 days. Why did you say 32? You've got me. Right, it's 14.
It was Colin.
Oh, he just
I'm
said
at
33.
I'm at 33.
Well,
Because I started the game with
Oh.
4 weeks, and then Mr. Friendman gave each of us 1 week, so I have 5 weeks. But,
Yeah.
5 weeks of ration.
and I did four people for 7 days, and so that's 28. But now we took half of that for you and me, so that's 14, and then we used 2, so that's
Each.
12. 2 each, so -4 is 10.
Nailed it.
Got
All
it.
right, we got there.
We have a food fight and we lose another 2 rations.
If you guys run out of food, I've got plenty, so we can figure it out. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about it.
And also, just as one other quick note, as far as drinking water, I assume that people have empty water skins and basically fill them up at every chance you have. It is not something that actively needs to be normally tracked. If there is a specific situation that would prevent you from getting access to more drinkable water, then we'll look at it then. But outside of that, you do not need to pay attention to it.
And some stuff for Wave specifically, it's that he has the fact that his ancestry lives underwater means I have like water filtration guild stuff, so I can drink from basically any like river source or something without having to like boil the water first or stuff like that.
Yeah. Others, I assume you boil at camp. So long as you are regularly camping, they'll be fine. Colin, you're going to be fine no matter what.
If I don't
drinks
have water,
fish
I just
poop.
die, so it doesn't really matter
Yep.
either way.
Right. So, come the next morning, do you just continue following the lines of the cart?
Yeah.
I think so.
Right by the riverbank, it's sort of muddy. It's very easy to track. You do not need any sort of roll to follow it along. And with just a couple of hours of traveling, you're able to see up ahead. The river seems to sort of widen out into a bit of a natural ford instead of the swift rushing water. And you also see a couple small tents along your side of the river. As well as up above, there are several trees that have a few platforms just sort of built up around them, raised, basically tree houses.
Nice.
From this distance, you can't see anyone, but it's far enough away that you wouldn't really expect to be able to see them, even if there was someone there.
Perhaps we tie up the horses here.
Seems like a good plan.
So?
I could go scout again from the banks from the actual river. See how many they have at the camp.
Sure.
More information, the better.
I'll attempt to blend into the trees nearby and be ready to attack a threat.
Okay, give me one quick moment. Okay, so Wave, you are going in the water. Is that right? And Kaliet? Is that right? Kalat. I will get the names. It just take me a bit.
How dare
Kalat,
you.
are you like actively trying to stealth and scout forward, or are you just making yourself hidden, awaiting Wave's return?
Hidden, awaiting Wave's return. I'll probably try and see if I can get. Do these trees look very sturdy around us? Not necessarily the ones with tree houses in them, but enough to like.
There's like small undergrowth as well for some smaller stuff, but there's also like 60-foot tall, huge, sturdy trees all around you.
I'll probably get like 10 or 15 feet up in the air. One with that's away from the like on a branch that's away from the camp, and just be sneaky up there.
Okay, the other two.
I'll stay on ground level and but still I'll try to hide in some like underbrush area. Just so if someone just like happens to look out, they don't just see us standing.
And for fives?
I will also hide behind the trees.
Alright. Wave, give me a stealth and a perception check.
It could get really scary if you say give him a stealth and society check.
All right, stealth check and perceive check.
All right.
Water's in the way.
So, as you're moving up, you see a number of small offshoots of the main river, just little streams no more than 5 to 10 feet wide as it continues to just break apart into the large ford. Silently swimming along through one of those, you need to get decently close before you have a confident count, but you don't feel like anyone has really reacted. And I will move you maps.
Move the map.
Just one quick
map.
moment.
It's a map. It's a motherfucking map.
You should be able to see this, can you?
Yes.
Okay. You also spot a number of figures. They are all revealed now. Looking out from the water, you can see that in one of the raised platforms built into a tree, there's a man somewhat slouched down. You see a longbow just sort of propped up against the tree to his side, though he doesn't seem particularly alert in the moment. Along down here, you see another in similar relaxed, not particularly caring posture, with a crossbow loosely slung over their back. Around a small fire, and a large pot cooking on top of it, you see 3 other figures. One of them, a tiefling woman, who somewhat matches the description you may have received of Cressel.
Go with description.
Beside her is a large halberd, just resting against the wood logs, and she is wearing some scale mail armor.
That's some cool
Also,
art.
Also at the campfire is another man, dressed a little more fashionably and perhaps too enthusiastically compared to the others. A rapier at his side, along with a buckler. And then the third at the fire is a man. He is not in this armor in the picture, though you see it just sort of piled up on the log next to him. And with a large axe at his side, seems to currently be eating soup, as this dwarf rests and eats a morning meal. Finally, down in the bottom left of the map, you see 2 men. They don't seem to be armed, and they're currently in the process of unloading a cart. What they're unloading, you can't really tell. It's something in boxes.
Okay.
I said unloading. I meant loading. They're loading a cart.
Okay. I will make my way back to the party.
Okay.
And let them know there are 5 combatants. 1 in the tree across the river.
Does it look like we can?
Just 5.
I'm talking to the group. Does it look like we can sneak around the tree line and try and attack from behind if we want to attack them, or do we want to just sneak by?
I think we could maybe isolate and ambush the archer
Yeah, that's
across
what
the river.
Uh,
that's what I want to do.
I have a question about the 5 that you saw. Our informant told us there would be 7.
There was 2 others, non. What did I say? Non-combatants. Yeah. Just peasant men, worker men, loading
Okay.
something.
They seem bound there by force, or is it likely that they might pick up arms if they were suddenly be attacked?
Unsure.
I have a question for the utility of my weapons.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, because they're like clubs with hooks on them, like say we were trying to ambush this archer here, would I be able to attempt to hook his bow away from him before he can grab it? Like would that be something that's possible?
I would say if it was already like equipped, he's got too much control over it for a ranged hook. But if he's not even touching it, like right now, if you land basically a hit on it, you could hook it with that and potentially pull it off of the platform.
Okay.
How far up were the platforms again?
They're 15 feet up in the air.
Also, how do they get
with
across
ladders.
the river?
So this is just a very narrow, like, offshoot of the small stream. You could just walk across it. It's only about 3.5 feet deep, and they've also piled up a few stones in a few places to make traversing a little easier.
Okay, the larger river itself is like farther north.
Yeah, it's like, so the larger river is like slightly off map this way.
Oh, that way. Okay.
Yeah, but there's like all sorts of these all throughout this immediate area as the river's sort of thinned out into the ford.
Okay. Anybody got any ideas that they want to do?
I will note that I'm not necessarily the sneakiest in these situations. I could serve a distraction, but if you guys are planning an ambush, unless we have a vast advantage on them, I won't be of too much help.
Let's see.
Perhaps a quick
Learning
strike from some of us, and then
my abilities here. Hold on. I have
a little more concentrated.
have a
create a
feeling-
diversion.
I have a feeling that some of you might be a little bit stealthy. I am currently about as stealthy as I am good at survival, so
I am stealthy.
I'm stealthy.
Yeah, I'm decently stealthy.
I do like the idea of like us taking out the archer as we unleash the Hulk on their like main encampment kind of thing. If that's something we want to try and do.
I can try and do the archer by myself. Just take his weapon, and then I think I should be able to fight him. Or if somebody wants to come with me, so I can take the weapon, and then we can just pretty much.
Yeah, maybe we do 2 on the archer, like either me and Tevin or Robert and Tevin, and then 2 on the main camp, and just try and take the archer out as quickly as you can, and then group back up.
Yes, I'm trying to see if I can create a diversion. I've got a few things that manipulate.
Okay.
Lengthy diversion. What are you? Oh, well, I guess we'll all figure it out together.
As we will.
Okay, so it's just if I critically succeed. Diversion.
Oh yeah,
so,
is that the skill feat for stealth, or no, deception?
it's for deception. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, just as a quick note to make, my understanding of it is the create a diversion, like the actual like game term, is made as like a in combat. You're currently fighting a guy. You make a diversion to give yourself a chance to hide. It's less like the more narrative way you would phrase create a diversion, which you can completely do that part separately. It's just not the game term create a diversion, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So if I succeed, I become hidden to each creature whose perception DC is less than or to my result.
Yeah.
Which allows me to sneak away.
That's like a you're fighting pocket sand, and then you just like hide before they can really realize what happened.
You just
And if I
crouch down.
and if I strike a creature, the creature remains flat-footed against the attack, and then I become observed. And if anything else, I become observed just before I act. And so then so then I continue to remain unobserved. Oh, okay, cool, interesting. So not helpful here.
And also, just as a quick game term, hidden is like he's in there in those bushes. I can't see him, but I know that that's the spot he's in. Undetected is like I got no idea. Could be anywhere.
Yep. In Tarkov terms, mag dump a bush or must have been the wind.
Yes.
Okay. You said one was eating and without his armor, right?
Yes. The dwarf.
Perhaps focus firing him first would be something of relevance. I do have ranged ability, so I can go with 5. Perhaps deal with some of the ones in the trees. And
Okay.
perhaps if sneaky enough, we can get up close enough to him to take him by surprise anyways.
So you two are gonna go after take the archer. Fives is gonna try and hook the bow off the platform as Kalat attacks the archer, and then me and the Hulk will deal with the other side and probably try and. Though I think once the fight starts, it takes like a minute to put on your armor, so you probably won't be able to get them on anyway once the fight begins.
Especially heavier armor like that. In terms of like round by round tracking, it is not a thing that can be done.
Yeah, I just figured he would go down quicker then.
Yeah, makes sense.
Another thing we could do is we could have like we're gonna become visible at once, so why not try and ambush both archers at the same time?
Yeah, I could ambush the archer over here as part of our team of 2.
Okay.
And then,
So I think
And me being closer to the group that the main group we're gonna be fighting is good because I have slow move speed.
and then
perhaps
I can kind of like move if I move along like the heavier tree line, I can like maybe make it somewhat closer, like over on this side, and then I can just like chuck some surprise goodies at them or something like that.
Or if you wanted, you could walk out and give a speech. Depends on your dramatic flair.
Hear ye, hear ye.
so. I think maybe the plan should be Fives gets close on the west side of the encampment. He'll try and take the bow. If he's successful, then he fights him one-on-one. If not, I'll be around the northern side of the encampment and I'll shoot at him to give him a 2v1 scenario. If he is successful, then I can join you against the second archer.
Sure. And I'll probably want
Just
to
like
sneak
the jungle
around.
to go gank bot lane.
I'll probably try and sneak around the south side to come in from this direction on the archer from the cover of these trees and stuff. And then Gerrit can come from maybe this direction or something.
Mhm.
Seems like a pretty good plan to me. I say we enact it.
Yeah. Also,
All
just as a quick note, I'm occasionally up grabbing something, but I have wireless headset, so I'm always able to still hear things.
Always listening.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
All right. I am going to bring the other ones of you onto this map, and you may basically like position yourself around the edges from the directions that you're trying to come around from. You're able to take like a wide berth around it. You don't find anything in the outlying areas, so you're
I have a
able to
question.
circle around. Yes.
Can we use something like maybe warfare lore to build camouflage, like use mud and stuff to like code ourselves and maybe gain some kind of bonus towards like being stealthy from perception?
Yeah, I'd say you could do that. Give me a warfare check. I'll say it is enough to give you a slight edge. You get +1 to any stealth check that is a result of that immediate action. Since you have as much time to prep this as you really need to take.
Mm-hmm. So, anybody want to get muddy?
Yeah, and that can be applied to as many people as wish to be covered in mud.
Like some kind of. It's like a sandfish buried under the sand ambush.
Not too caught up on aquatic life forms, but yeah, this is something that we had to do in
There's Colin. Sandfish is probably a thing. You know those like flat guys. They like do the they like bury themselves
Yeah.
under the sand. Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
that, but with mud.
Some bit of natural camouflage.
Mud
natural.
skippers.
Yeah, did this in Numeria a lot.
So, and just is this the correct position for the two of you as well?
I am going to be on this side.
And I will be on this side.
Okay.
How far into the trees are we going here? Like,
So,
that fun?
You
I
can
will
put us on
say
the
you,
edges of the map, right?
yeah, you're basically starting out on the edges of the map. You can be like 2 squares in from an edge.
2 squares in from an edge.
Be around there. How far
And
away
then,
are you guys?
Everyone give me a stealth check. This basically determines the tier of the surprise round you will get. The better your result, the more actions you will have prior to standard initiative order.
Cool.
Okay, and I think a bit of our trigger here is probably waiting for Fives to kind of go first, because we want him to like try and get that bow down off of the platform before we make any other actions. This is my guess.
Okay. I will also add, you can get a +2 to your stealth roll if you, rather than starting 2 tiles in, are all the way back. Like basically against the map edge, you're a little bit further away, harder to be spotted.
I mean, I'm
Sure.
gonna have to move regardless, so I might as well do that.
Yeah, that seems fine.
I would like to. Now would probably be the time to say that I'm like pre-drawing one of my Drakeheart mutagens and probably a or probably a blight bomb actually.
Do you wish to consume the mutagen, or do you just have it in your hand?
For now, I just have it in my hand, just in case like it takes an abnormal amount of time for things to get started.
Yeah, everyone can have things drawn.
Jeez.
At the level that I'm at right now, my mutagens only last for 60 seconds, so it's a little bit of a like you gotta be in the moment thing. Where's stealth? I can stealth, right? Ha This is why I separated from the group.
Fortunately, your teammates are able to carry you quite a ways through this, and you will have a full 3-action surprise round. Then after that, we will have initiative.
Cool.
So, for this combat, we're gonna go with the same group initiative that we went with last time. Give it another go. It is your guys' turns. Fives, do you want to start us off?
Oh, you're muted.
Whoops. So
Been there.
1 action to move right here because I only have a range of 20 feet, so I think I have to be right next to it.
You could reach from the spot you were at, because
Oh,
it's 15 up. I'm not interested in doing the math formula. You can reach it.
Okay.
Pythagorean theorem, triangles.
Okay.
You are math.
Well, in that case, I'm going to try and hook the bow. That's I think is somewhere around here.
Yep, it's like up in this raised platform right there.
All right, cool.
Give me an attack roll with your Ackles?
Acclies?
No.
That one will not get it, but you have 2 actions remaining.
Well, I got nothing else to do. Let's go. Oh, I needed to roll number 2.
You retract it with a 2nd action, I assume.
Sweet.
Then 3rd action, going again.
3rd action.
Yeah.
I guess now that I got it, I guess I'm just gonna go ahead. Oh, I retracted, and then I
Yeah,
Or you
because
retract the.
first action throw, second action pull back, third action throw. I assume that's what you're doing. Is that right?
Yeah, I already
Okay.
did this. I already did my second attack.
Okay.
Yeah, that
So
was-
that's 5 less than that. So that's a 16, right?
Yep.
Okay. That is enough. As you hook it around the staff of the bow, and with a tug, it and the bow come tumbling down out of the tower.
Okay, I see that, and I, for part of my turn, will just move forward.
Okay.
5, 10, 5.
Also, I think I
Am
forgot to mention it. The water itself is difficult terrain, but if you cross over the rocks, then it isn't. So you're good.
Yep, and for my last step, I'd probably step here. Am I visible or able to see all these guys from my position?
Yeah, if you're like standing up fully, you can see. If you're trying to crouch down, you could attempt to hide further, but you can make them visible where you are.
Okay, cool. I will just move while, like, basically, I see the bow get taken. Everybody else says that's their cue. I'm gonna wait for a little bit more action to happen.
All right.
I will go, and I will. My first action will be a movement. I'll go 5, 10, 15, 20. That should put me right where I want to be. I look down as you see as like his posture kind of starts doing the change, like, all right, this one's for me. He drinks the Drakeheart mutagen, and they're like, and this one's for you. And he just like slow or like fast pitch softball underhand the blight bomb at this lady.
All right.
Nice.
She will be flat-footed to this attack.
And I totally remember how to use my blight bomb. I just hit this button. Hey.
And with being flat-footed, that is a hit.
Yes.
Nice.
Get that 1 poison
For
damage,
1
and then
point of damage.
she also, her and this guy take the 1 splash damage.
1 splash and 1
And
splash.
she now has it also deals persistent poison damage, which is weirdly not on here somewhere, but I think I put it in my actual character sheet.
How much poison damage is it?
It's the 1 poison damage, but I think it's a 1d4 every turn persistent
yeah.
damage.
1d4 persistent poison damage. Yep. Okay.
How do you get rid of persistent damage?
So
Yes.
it's basically at the end of your turn, you take the damage and then roll an unmodified, just a d20, and on it's either a 15 or a 16 is the DC. I forget which.
Oh, this is
It
the.
stops. I think it's 15. 15 sounds right.
Yeah, that's pretty potent.
It's even more potent if you
DC
don't
15.
roll minimum damage.
So yeah, for now 2 damage, and then at the end of her turn, she will be poisoned. I will put that icon on her to note that. There is no persistent splash damage, is that right?
Yes, it's
Like
just
the other
person
guy
that
just
gets
took the
it.
1 point? Okay. As they cough and sputter at this as this blight bomb explodes around them. Waves, do you wish to do anything?
Yeah, I'll move flurry of blows this man. It's like I'm flying out of the bushes covered in mud.
So, to clarify, he is also up in the air.
Oh, he is?
Yes,
Yeah,
the two
he's on a
two
platform.
of these guys were up on the platforms.
So he is. Definitely noticed that. So how do I get up the platform?
So there is a
Like
ladder
something.
there. Also, if that was just an OC misunderstanding and you would have wanted to started this ambush somewhere else, that is okay. You can move.
Mm,
Well, move is 40 feet, right?
yeah. I was just thinking about like I didn't necessarily know that like if we were gonna get his bow or not on the other guy. So potential chance of like wanting to take out this archer kind of quickly. But also now I'm kind of like I don't want to leave Gerrit alone. But that's decisions making and circumstances. So I think I will stay where I'm at as far as starting position.
Right.
Um, would it be 3 move actions to get up into the platform?
So getting up the ladder will be 20 feet of movement.
Okay, so then
Which you can do from like any tile that is like next to this thing. So if you get there, 20 more feet brings you all the way up top.
Okay.
It's like
I
a
see.
little bit short.
So if he instead spawned one tile in and didn't take the +2, he would have had enough.
Diagonals are weird, right? Does it auto calculate for me?
Yeah.
Let's see. It should be. It's 215.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It does that correctly for you.
Then I will move over to the dwarf who's in the middle of eating and punch him in the back of the head.
All right, this is gonna totally ruin his stew.
I am currently not in a stance, so I will just make a regular unarmed strike.
He is flat-footed, and that will crit his flat-foot AC
no.
while unarmored.
Nice.
This poor dwarf.
I mean, listen, at least he didn't get like a mouthful of light bomb.
His soup is all over the floor.
One of them is
now.
uncomfortable. The other is concussion-inducing.
He is badly wounded, but not dropped outright. What do you do? Describe your attack.
It's just like running flying punch to the back of the head, and now I'm coming in for a second punch to his like liver.
All right, take a swing. And that will hit and bring him down.
Nice. Wolf down.
Dwarf
I'll
down.
teach you to
Are you
eat.
aiming to kill or trying to knock him out? As you are using unarmed monk stuff, you can just do either with no penalty.
I will aim to kill on this guy.
And he dies. The dwarf never had a chance.
Poor guy.
His spleen exploded.
Khalit? Is that right? Khalit? Kalat?
A lot.
Kalat. Kalat.
Gerrit.
You still have 2 actions remaining.
All right.
Gerrit Kalat.
I recommend potentially putting phonetic spelling in your character name at the bottom left, so that we could glance
Yeah.
at that in the off time.
Great.
That would help at least for a while.
That's real
Fives and waves, you do not need to do this step.
I don't know. You keep
Well,
adding
I
an
mean,
S to mine.
Yeah.
so-
Oh. Oh, man. Well played, sir. Wave. It's just wave.
Just where.
There's not yet more than one.
All right. I will.
Oh, it didn't say.
I think I'll just use Ray of Frost against the archer.
All right. Crossbowman, I assume.
Yes.
He is flat-footed to your attack.
Oh wait, I don't have to use. Oh, I am way out of distance for a teleconnection. Yes, so I must use Ray of Frost. There we go. Be flat-footed, sir.
And that will hit flat-foot AC, striking him for 5 damage. Will not crit, though.
Oof.
All right.
Close.
And with that, that is the end of the surprise round. We are now going to go into initiative, and in the what's it called? The quick reference tab, the one with all your like AC perception, things like that. I added 2 more down at the bottom just in case they become relevant. Average perception and average stealth. They're currently just both the same right now. For these group initiatives, what we're going to do is basically it is an average of all of your bonuses for something. So it will just be a roll as the collective group average.
Okay.
We will see how we like it. All of this is subject to change based on how people feel about it, but it's a way to go forward and see how it works. So, who wants to roll the die?
Also, for potentially worth noting, but probably doesn't because averages. I believe that. Oh, this is so hard. I currently have a +1 item bonus to perception checks. When I
Okay.
have my Drakeheart mutagen on.
Gotcha. I will tell you it did not make a difference in that
That's
number
fine.
right there. One second.
But I'm slower and slightly dumber because I have a penalty to will saves and reflex saves, and all skill checks to recall knowledge.
Also, in sort of the surprise round, they didn't act, but the poison still did. So you can give me that D4 of poison damage at sort of the end of their non-existent turn of the surprise round.
Blight Bomb. That should be it. That is a
For
D4.
1 point of
Another
damage.
1 point, yes.
He continues the minimum.
I've only ever seen ones from that blight bomb.
She
It's
will make
fine.
a flat DC 15 to resist, or to stop taking further damage after this one.
She won't make it. Damn it.
She will, shrugging off the poisonous effect.
Hey, listen, we got a little bit in there.
You hit her for 3 times.
If she was concentrating,
you-
if that was a thing in this game.
But initiative. Someone give me a D20 plus 4.
Not me.
Got not.
Got it. I can just roll. Well, it says that. So let's see if this is plus 4.
You also can just manually type in.
Yeah, I was hoping to be cool with it. But
Fair.
Haha.
boom.
Oh God.
Following suit with Ryan, I have decided to roll a 1.
All right, and they will be going before you.
This is fine. Probably.
So, starting way off on the west side, Fives. You see the archer's face just light up in sudden panic as his bow is pulled off over the edge. He grips the rail, looking over and spotting you and his bow down at the bottom. Seems to take him a moment before drawing out a dagger. He is now armed with a dagger, surveys around, and looks like he doesn't quite want to actually do anything further yet. He crouches down somewhat behind the actual barricade that he's standing on. He is taking cover, so he will have higher AC for this round from attacks from below. The
But
two.
Fives
Would it be to
just,
knock off? How hard would it be to knock out the ladder? And just leave?
It's not really like secured. It's just kind of propped up. If you get next to it and then spend an action, I'd say you can just pull it down.
All right.
The two currently loading the cart look over at the sudden sounds and shouts, seeming to hesitate, not quite sure what to do, as they maneuver around behind it, figuring out a plan for sure. Up at the top of the other tower, the crossbowman spends his first action grabbing the crossbow. As he peers out over the edge and sees a close target to him, angling it down at Wave, and he fires the bolt.
Leaving you, buddy.
catch it.
I don't know
Not
what
this
level you
level.
are quite yet.
Enjoy.
And I open up the quick reference again because I accidentally closed it. There we go. And
Incoming critical.
it will not crit you, but it certainly does hit.
Woo.
And it strikes you for 8 points of damage.
Woo.
And with his final action, he reloads the crossbow.
I need to
Ow.
take Doomer to rolling class. Kinda fingers could learn.
This elaborately dressed man. First action, he stands up from his sitting position. Second action, grabs the buckler, straps it to his arm. Third action, rapier.
What a noble.
He's got at least one too many belts on.
Adjust my feather.
And the tiefling rises up, reaches, grabs the halberd, and then with a few words of incantation, the head of the halberd ignites in flame. That is her turn.
Counterspell?
Sadly, no. At least not yet. And it's back to you guys.
Also, I think counterspelling is like kind of a shit show in Pathfinder. But of anyone who would be like counterspelling Gish spells specifically, I think it would probably be Robert Spencer.
Yeah.
No other Gish is allowed.
I want that helper.
Well, I'm a little bit worried.
No, a little bit.
Everything's fine though.
Maybe Claude, see if you take out that crossbowman. Or are you going for the crossbowman again?
I am. I'm trying to see.
I'd feel a little more comfortable if my back wasn't exposed to Mr. Crossbowman.
Okay. I move 30. And what was the thing to get the ruler to pop up when you're moving?
Oh, like while you're moving? Q.
Q. Here is 20. Here's 25. That gets me at 30 feet here. It's a little bit unfortunate that I'm just outside of that. I'll move here, and then I will once again use another cantrip. This time it'll be telekinetic projectile. As I look down and see like a rather pointed rock, and I just flick it up in the direction of the archer crossbow.
It will not quite crit, but it does certainly hit. As this rock just flies from the ground, suddenly soaring up, striking the crossbowman in the side of the head, and just barely dropping him with that blow.
Oh, thank
Nice.
goodness. Saved.
They
All right, next.
that is all of my.
Okay. I would like to walk over, move next to the ladder, and then knock it down.
With a hefty pull, you pull the ladder out from the opening in the small tree platform, and it just falls to the ground with a heavy thud. You still have one action left.
And then I look up and I'm like, stay up there and maybe you get to live.
He looks down at you with his dagger, and then just kind of cowers back behind the platform.
All right, and then I leave. I finish my because I moved 20, and so this 25. Actually,
Take his bow.
Oh, I grab his bow.
Yeah, your final action, you can pick up the bow with it.
Okay, great.
Next.
He needs that.
I think that I'll go next. I'll grab I'll ask my snaky friend actually to pass me one of each of my remaining bombs, and I got 2 more fastballs coming for Miss Tiefling Lady.
What a friend.
The first one is another blight bomb.
Hey, if it
That's
hits.
more than
That will not hit, I'm afraid.
she at least takes the splash damage, I think.
But does yet another single point of damage.
Twice though.
Fucking
He's
got
racking them up.
Got them all misweighted. Hold on. This one.
And as a quick question, is that including the
Oh, that's
-5
not
for a
including the
second
minus
attack?
5.
All right, that is going to be a miss. But deals a point of splash damage as you do your 5th point of 1 damage to the tiefling.
Does the swashbuckler man also take those splash damage?
Yes, he has received 3 damage.
Yes.
From this
Guaranteed
noxious
damage,
fumes
baby.
and gas around him.
Some wild maniac like burst forth from the trees and just start slinging fucking potions at you.
I'll keep telling him to
You're
make
just
the
there
potion
like,
bottles
"Ow."
bigger, but
So that is 2 actions, right?
that is all 3 of my actions actually. Because I have
Oh.
one of my actions is commanding the snake
Oh.
to pass me the potions.
Yep. You use 1 action to save yourself too. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, then wave that isn't plural.
I will step past the corpse of this dwarf, up to Miss Tiefling Lady, with 1 action, and then with a second action, I will enter Shark Stance, which is my new stance that Doomer made me, instead of Dragon Stance. And I will do a flurry of blows with my third action.
Let's go. Pog,
So
pog.
I get
no.
some bonuses with when I'm flanking people with Shark Stance. And it has deadly, which means it does extra damage on crits. but I have a feeling an 8 is a miss.
You are correct. It is a critical miss. Not that that does anything different in this instance.
And I will make a second attack.
And that one will also not get past her armor.
Oof, she's so tanky. I also have if I'm flanking the person, I get a bonus to damage, but I also, if I'm using disarm, then they have a penalty to their save against disarm if I'm flanking them.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
So, that's everyone, right? Yeah. As you strike at her, she turns towards you, halberd in hand, as she spits out, "Who are you, water devil?"
Hopefully you're dead.
And with that, she brings up the halberd and goes down for a hopefully crushing swing.
Boy,
No.
watch out for that. It's a bit spicy.
Spicy.
Cutting into you for 8 points of damage and then 1 point of fire damage on top of it.
He's trying to dry him out.
The flames on the halberd vanish with that for only a brief moment before, with another word, they reignite as she cuts into you once more.
Rude.
Badly missing the follow-up swing as the fires remain on her halberd. The man beside her turns towards you. It's Hack, right?
Yes.
Hack. And
What
he
Hack?
says,
Hack.
"What
Hack
an
and
ugly
slash."
fellow!" He spends the first action getting into his fencing stance before moving towards you and stabbing out with a rapier.
What the hell are you
He
doing?
has spent 5 actions to get to a single round of being able to attack.
All right. Cape is properly fastened. Feet shoulder width apart. All right, never mind.
Not gonna lie, I feel like this is a Tevin type of character.
The swashbuckler. I assume that hits. I think my AC is 18 right now.
Sorry, brief coughing fit. I have
No, you're
recovered.
fine.
Yes, that does hit as he pierces a rapier against you for 1 point of damage. Ha! Take that, scoundrel!
6 actions, 1 damage. Let's go.
At least I get 1 point in for every half
Each
action.
Yeah.
The archer up in the tower just drops prone, making himself completely concealed by the platform he's standing on. You cannot see him anymore from the ground. And
Somewhere in this arena, Kalat says somebody just went undetected.
the two behind the wagon, one of them steps up onto one of the wheels and begins opening up a box. He seems to be digging around, though he doesn't have whatever he's looking for yet.
Okay.
The other one, you hear a hushed whisper, "Get down, get down." It is back to you guys.
I'm definitely gonna go. Well, first I yell out, "Do you guys have it over there?"
We're fine.
All right, cool.
Nope.
And I'm going to make my way.
That's you.
Are you sure? You seem fine.
Collectively, on average, we are fine.
What was the button that lets you see how far you're moving?
While you're mid-dragging your token.
Q. So I want to go over here.
Okay. As you begin approaching the man, he raises his hands up defensively as if to punch out, but also sort of cowers back.
I'm like, what's in the wagon?
All sorts.
He just said all swords.
What specifically are you trying to get? Your life's in danger and you're going through a wagon. Why?
Get down, get down! The man on the ground says to the other one, who immediately just raises up his hands, no longer digging through the box.
All right. I have. So I walked over here. Does questioning them take an action, or is that?
No, you can have basically said that on your way up. It was not a long conversation.
I would like to try and tie one of them up. Would that be possible?
It is something that can be done, but it does take a while to securely tie someone.
Okay.
Keep in mind
like I
each
said, just
round is
knock 'em
only
out.
6 seconds, so it'd be a while.
I'll just knock him out.
Okay, taking a swing at him?
Yes.
Which one are you targeting? The left or the right one? The right one was the one that was digging through the wagon, the left was telling him to get down.
One digging through, I guess.
Okay.
Stop. Well, if I don't want them to die, can I just make my damage non-lethal?
Yeah, before rolling, you declare you're making a non-lethal attack, and you have a -2 to hit with it.
Okay.
Since
I
you're
would also
using
like
a
to use
lethal
my
weapon
device of stratagem.
Okay.
Didn't roll. Well. What was it? D20?
Yeah, it basically sets your next attack to be this D20 plus whatever your normal bonuses are.
Well.
So if you attack him, the roll will be a 6.
Okay, so I'm going to attack the other one then.
Okay.
That solves that. Well,
his guard is perfect. Don't understand.
Do you have a shield?
The cart, it got in the way.
Yeah. You're not quite seeing a good angle on the top one. You decide to instead throw towards the second one, but in the brief moment of hesitation while you're figuring out how to attack the other, he ducks back behind the wagon and the attack misses.
All right.
Next.
I think my turn's pretty simple, actually.
Have at it.
Still trying to catch up to combat here. I will get to here, and then once again cast a spell. I will be using Electric Arc.
I can take a guess on your targets.
Okay, yep. Wave, and
here it is.
first one's going to go for Halberd Lady.
Okay.
She is taking slightly more points of damage.
More instances of one.
But not this one.
So 5.
Wait, oh, that's right. It's a save effect.
Yes. Yeah. So, just as a reminder, because it was a while ago when mentioned this, that I have made a change to Electric Arc to bring it sort of in line with other cantrips. So you've got the primary target, spell works exactly as normal, and secondary target receives +1 to their save tier. So fail is success, success is crit success.
Mm-hmm.
Crit fail is fail. So primary target was the tiefling. Was that right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Then they will both roll reflex saves. First roll is going to be tiefling. Second is going to be the swashbuckling man. I meant to roll 2 there, but whatever. Here's another one.
Oh.
Damn.
And your DC is 16.
Yep.
So the tiefling will pass and only take 2 points of damage. 2 full damage off 1 attack.
Imagine. Hey, listen, I dealt 2 damage on a couple of those, alright?
The swashbuckling man will crit pass, avoiding all damage as he turns towards you. What's your name?
sorry. My bad. Magic got away from me. I'm new to this.
Hey.
Beep boop.
Next.
I'll take some swings at Swashbuckler Man. I don't have anything specific, so I'm actually just going to be like wailing on this guy. Ha-ha! But I rolled minimum damage on the crit.
Sort of begins to skirmish his stance. He says, "Those glasses, don't you know they went out of fashion years?" Oh! And as you have crit him, you take him out of his swashbuckling stance.
Aha!
Oh, really?
Putting him back to more of a traditional fighting style.
Quit moving around so much. Come on.
He gives out a growl of pain, but after another moment, his confidence seems to resume as he dodges your next blow.
This is fine.
Too slow, my friend.
Your form's dropped.
And then I think for my final action, I'm going to I think that I should. Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to do the intimidation thing.
Okay.
And how does that work again? I just make an intimidation check.
You make an intimidate check against his will DC.
Oh, not quite. Well, you just stop moving around so much.
Think you're scary? I've fought toddlers with better footwork than you.
It's fighting words. Fight.
That's
All
the
right,
end.
make a DC 16 intimidation check. Right.
All right, Wave.
I think I'm going to punch her.
A solid tactic.
Yeah.
So first strike will be this.
Her armor, however, seems quite thick as she positions it, shunting off your blow to the side.
She thick. And then I'm going to try punching her again with a second attack of my flurry of blows. Ooh.
And
Nice.
that'll do it. That's a hit.
Nice.
You've done it.
For
You've broken through.
12 total damage, right?
Yeah, 12 damage.
All right, that's 12 whole attacks of damage.
Oh, that's cool.
What gives the extra +1?
So,
Sharks.
the forceful trait, my second attack gets +1, and my third attack and beyond gets +2. And those +1 and +2 go up if my damage die number, like number of dice I'm rolling, goes up. Like if you have striking.
Nice.
Cool.
She seems significantly wounded from that blow, plus the minor hits from earlier, though still certainly within fighting stance.
I think my last action is. Oh, actually, I have 2 more actions, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're a monk.
Wild. So I know
No,
I can take
monk.
I can take the parry action to get +1 to AC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but other than that, it's not really any defensive option to take, other than like running away or something.
Yeah, having a shield, using parry, if
I'll
you
just
trip
make
them or something.
I'll just
Running
make
away.
a third wild strike at her with my second action.
Sometimes you get a 20.
Nope,
Not
not
that
this
time, though.
time. All right, and my last action will be to do parry, to give me +1 AC.
All right.
With all these
that
green
brings you to
damage
18?
numbers.
That brings me to 18. Yes.
That is a lot of green damage numbers. You're right.
What's it like?
Yeah, he's been
Only
rolling
negative
like
crit.
he's been rolling like 8 or like 6 to 8 on his damage die roll each time, regardless if he hits or not. It's been wild.
The opposite of Brian.
So, their turns. Gerrit.
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 I tried to change my thing. Why didn't it change?
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I might have to refresh the.
Yeah, I think it's a refresh.
Oh, maybe. But
Regardless.
the man that you are currently entangled in a duel with, he lunges out with the rapier once more, going for a stab, and strikes into you for no damage. The rapier like presses up against the scales that form with your Drakeheart mutagen, but just don't seem to break it.
Why does he have -1 to damage?
This never happens.
Come
He
on,
resumes his
fancy
stance
feet.
and stabs out once more. However, is unable to land a second blow upon you. The furious tiefling releases the grip of the halberd with one hand as she begins to make an incantation with it, channeling some sort of fiendish energy as you see a fire forming around her hand, before it immediately blasts out towards you, Wave. Give me a reflex save.
A reflex save.
She's trying to dry him out.
Oh no. I have +7 and rolling got a 9.
And Wave is toasted for 10 points of fire damage
Good
as
night.
flames rush out over you as you fade from consciousness. You are
Okay, I
dying
lied. On
blood.
average, one of us is not fine anymore. Get over here.
Just put me in the water, guys. Just put me in the water.
The tiefling turns towards you, Khalit. Khalit? We have it that time? Kalat.
Bottom, at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's there now. Kalat. And strides up towards you. Halberd still not quite readied, only in one hand. You're next, abomination.
Hey,
Says the
you're one to talk.
The two down below. They glance back and forth for a few moments before they both begin just booking it. Slowed slightly due to the river. This one makes it to here, and this one makes it to here.
Okay.
Back to the heroes.
I changed my display name in 2 other places that didn't
Ah,
affect
yep, I
this
see it.
display name.
Gerrit, Kalat. Wave without an S. Tevin B.
Tevin.
How do I
weird,
change
weird
it?
pronunciation of 5s.
Under the cogwheel at the top right, if you select that, you'll at the very top you see display name.
Okay, cool.
Change that. And then once you save that, then you'll have to refresh to
I-
get it to update.
I am locked in an epic duel. I must complete it.
Finish the fight.
And with that swing, he brings up his buckler, meeting your claw with it as he immediately stabs out with his rapier
Hey.
as a reaction.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. The swashbuckler seems like the most likely to give us relevant information if he honorably loses the battle. Just gonna
He
shove
strikes
that one
into
out
you
there.
for 0 points of damage.
Combo.
However,
Just-
despite the lack of impact, the success of his maneuver seems to have boldened him with confidence as he fights
Oh,
with
no.
panache.
Ah!
He seems to have advanced his stance.
Oh no!
He's finally done it.
All right,
You
all
can't
right.
tell him that he's not doing well.
He is. He is at least
Landed
doing.
so many hits onto you.
I don't even. Yeah, I'm gonna keep swinging at him a little bit here, just to see if I hit.
Ha!
Oh, come on, that's it. You got more belts than comebacks.
Please, you'll be full of holes by the time we're done.
You'll need about 1,000 to get anywhere.
I'm going to actually, if someone else wants to go, I am
Wanna
willing
figure out your
hold
third
off for a
action?
moment. Yeah, I don't know what my third
Okay,
action's gonna be.
all
yet.
right. I'll go. I closed my page. So, oh, that's right. I refreshed it.
I can go
Does
while people are going.
does
I have to
longsword
do
have
it.
versatile?
Longsword?
Yeah, like versatile two-hand.
It does not have two-hand. It has versatile. Versatile in Pathfinder 2e is you can swap around the damage type. You can do piercing damage with the longsword or slashing. I forget what it's called for being two-handable. I think it's just called two-hand. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like
Yeah.
bastard swords and a few other weird ones.
Yeah, two-hand XDY.
Oh yeah, two-hand 1d. Okay, cool. And I wouldn't want the action to raise my hand to it anyways. Okay, cool. Then I will use spell strike, and I will skirt around to the other side. Wait, I don't know if I want to do that actually.
You invoking flanking?
Flank myself, yeah. So I will.
Does it count if he doesn't do any damage?
I will move over here. Then remembering that she has flame breath, maybe whatever she used.
As a quick note, it seemed to be a very targeted gout of flame. It would not have hit anyone around Wave. It was just Wave.
I see. Okay, then I will slide over here, and then in doing so, I will cast Telekinetic Strike into the weapon, and then using the Roku sword as a longsword, I will attempt to bash her in the head.
Take a swing.
and watch as Five just goes skating off in multiple waypoints. First,
Haha!
A
Ooh.
critical hit
He's done
for
Oh, she
16 damage. And then
and
this gives you +1 to whatever the hit rate is of your spell.
yep. So the spell then comes in.
And with your first crit, that makes that one a crit as well. Unfortunate on that particular damage roll, but fortunately, it is still enough as that brings her down.
Oh, so what kind of armor is she wearing?
I forgot. Give me one moment. She is wearing splint mail. She's wearing splint mail.
Okay. I think like for this then like the sword like lodges in her arm and gets caught like on some of the armor just somewhat holding it, and then the telekinetic strike just re-embolds it and just continues through and dismembers her arm.
All right. And she falls, bleeding out rapidly as she dies. Fives or Gerrit?
Also, wait, do I have to do stuff while I'm dead?
Yes, but it will be automatically. You'll be like last of your round.
I am just going to move. It looks like they're wrapping up over there, so I'm just gonna keep following these people to here. So 3 actions, 3 movements.
To note, by the way, with what we saw on our little playthrough, I think anytime somebody is unconscious, we probably want to get everybody to the ability to restore that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
very
At least
easy
until we
to
have
just,
better
like,
equipment.
Oops, oops, your character died once you go unconscious.
I think that my last action does go to moving over to here.
Oh, duel.
Yeah.
What's that?
Hey, friend.
Already had enough?
Oh, I'll be back for you. Hold on.
All right. That everyone?
Yep.
All right.
For wave.
Oh yeah. Wait.
Wave must do his thing.
Hey,
You need to make yourself a dying check.
a dying check.
The archives is down for
real quick.
maintenance. This
Oh.
error message could look better. Well, it's going to be a D20. It's just flat, no modifiers. Your DC is, I believe it is 10 plus your dying value, and you start at dying 1, so 11. You advance to the next stage of dying 2.
I am dying too.
Yes.
All these other people around me are also dying.
Some quicker than others.
Fives. The 2 that you're chasing after, seeing you following them, immediately begin rushing back, leaping across the river and wading through the difficult terrain as they move away from you once more. Leave us be, he says as he splashes through the water. The swashbuckling man then nimbly dances down, full of confidence, as he says, I'm not done with you yet, my friend. Watch your footing, as he goes for a kick at your leg, trying to knock you off balance.
What kind of fencing move is that?
Absolutely not.
What is your reflex DC? It'll be 10 higher than whatever your reflex bonus is.
That is a great question. Let me just double check that I do take a penalty to that. I'm at -1, so it would be 15.
All right. However, even with your slightly dulled reactions from your mutagen, you still see his trick coming a mile away, easily sidestepping it, before he just, well, never mind that, as he goes for another stab.
This is the best. This is can we just keep this guy?
Miserably failing as he loses his panache and his swashbuckling stance.
His confidence is gone.
Just pick him up. Just pick him up.
Let me hold you, buddy. It's okay.
Please, good guy.
I've still got this. He seems a little more frantic than confident this time. It is back to the group of you.
Question for the DM.
Yes.
Would feeding an elixir of life pick my friend up?
So it would be one action, interact action to grab it,
Mm-hmm.
one more to feed it to him.
Right.
But then it would heal him, and your HP never goes negative, so he's not like at -8 or whatever. He's just at 0. If he's healed for 2, then he's now at 2 and conscious.
Okay.
The danger of mid-combat healing, just as a general thing to keep in mind, not saying you shouldn't here, but worth noting, whenever you come back up, you are wounded one more than whatever you went down at. And wounded is basically just what you start out dying as if you drop again. So if you are like healed, conscious, then knocked out, then healed, conscious, then knocked out, then healed, conscious, then knocked out, you're not knocked out that time. You just die right off the bat.
Okay.
So you don't want to ping pong is all I'm saying.
Okay.
This
That
should be
seems
fine, though.
totally reasonable. For this action, instead of using this hearty one that I have in my pack, he like runs his hand across the like back of the snake and gets this like goop out and has an empty vial as he quickly mixes up a very, very volatile, short-lived version of an elixir of life. And like, it's gonna taste like shit. And jumps it into Wave's mouth. And that. Oh, it doesn't actually roll it.
Ah, elixir of life.
As you
1d6
just turn your attention from the man who's, well, we're having a duel here. Have some respect.
Fuck for the
You
dead.
heal for 4,
Woo!
and then I am going to, because that's 2 actions for me.
Also, real quick,
Uh-huh.
that is actually just for 3. The bonus of +1 is the bonus that it gives you on poison and disease saves. The actual hit point is just a flat d6 on a minor one.
Yeah. That is very interestingly worded. Commas are important. So what I'm gonna do is I'm immediately gonna whip around and just bear hug this guy and try to grapple him.
All right.
Athletics, I presume.
Yep.
Oh.
And that crit succeeds.
What does that even do?
A crit. All right. Grapple is down for maintenance, or archive is down for grapple. 2e.
Is it for me too?
Grapple.
Can anyone
If
view
you
this?
already
Oh,
had,
no.
okay, so
Let's see.
on
Okay,
a critical
I
success,
found an alternative
your
one.
opponent is restrained until the end of your next turn unless you move or your opponent escapes.
So normally you grab them and they get the grabbed condition. Since you crit succeeded, they are instead restrained instead of grabbed, which means he cannot attempt to fight you. Like basically his only action is trying to break free of your grapple.
It's literally just like do the like quick alchemy whip up of a health potion, feed it to Wave, and then he pops off behind me. Just like, what was that?
All right, I have a plan for what I'd like to do.
Go for it. You're currently prone though.
I will stand up and dust myself off real quick, cough out some of the nasty healing potion. I'm assuming standing up is an action.
Yes, it is.
And then I'll use another action to walk behind this grappled man.
He is flat-footed.
And then for my third action, I will attempt to disarm the man.
All right. Taking his rapier?
No, his arm.
Oh, I see. I see.
No, I'm taking his rapier. It's a shark thing, you know.
All right. Give me a disarm roll, and that is going to be against his reflex DC.
How do I do that? Just as an attack roll?
Disarm is athletic.
Athletics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just roll athletics?
Yep. And
It's
That
against their
will
reflex
pass.
DC.
It will not crit succeed though, but it passes. So you've got everyone has a +2 to further disarm them this round, and on his turn he has a -2 on any rolls involving it.
Even that's including with his -2, right?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
cool.
So he's currently
He's
at
got a little better
-4.
reflex than he did on the fort save.
Fair.
Um, Kalat or fives?
I
What are you
look
doing,
back.
fives?
Do you guys have this time?
Definitely.
All right, cool. I continue the chase. The game is afoot.
Scooby Doo music plays.
All right. So this is difficult terrain if I go this way, so I can only go 20?
It basically just costs you an extra 10 feet of movement moving across this. So if you're going like here to there, that's 40 feet instead of 30.
Okay. So I have in 2 moves I would have 50 normally. So
Yeah, you
here
could
I
just-
can get here is 50.
Yep.
So that's 2 actions.
Wait, I
And
just
then-
moved from where you were. That was 50. This is
It's 50 when you factor in 10 feet for the difficult terrain.
oh right, duh.
Okay. So I should be within range to make a non-lethal attack on
You
one of
are,
them.
but I do believe you need to spend an action to ready your weapon once more. You've just been trailing it behind you on the rope since you last threw.
Yes.
Well, if that's the case, then wouldn't it be on this side? Well, no. I was too far
It's
away
on a
from that.
rope, so you can bring it with you either way. But
Yeah.
you still, it's not in your hand ready to throw.
Well, I meant I wanted to trip because if they run across it, I can use the trip action. That's what I was trying to figure out where it was last. But it
Gotcha.
would have been it's only got 20 feet, so it would have been somewhere over here.
Yeah, it'd be trailing you then.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll just recall my weapon then.
This
Kalat?
madman just running at him full speed, freaking spear basically behind him. Oh, right. I move up, casting Spell Strike again, and attempt to disarm him. Literally, though, but non-lethal.
The classic non-lethal arm removal.
I use the flat of the blade.
It's like
And
50
attempt to-
bucks.
Let go of me, brute!
Hold on, be still. I'll try and get you free. If you're a little bit smaller, it helps.
Take a swing. He is flat-footed due to the restraint.
And I'm at a -2 for trying to do non-lethal.
Yeah, so that just cancels out.
Fair enough.
Oh.
That was the wrong thing.
Dive, dip,
I don't
dodge.
try and punch him.
Yeah, the macro numbers are not even right in there. You ignore that. Roll the real attack,
All right. Ah!
Oh,
and that will strike into him for 7,
Okay, and then
nearly
the
felling him.
the spell also goes off.
Which spell
Um,
was it again?
I didn't state, but it's probably just telekinetic strike.
Okay. Make a roll.
Oh, wait, no, hold on. How? I was thinking about this earlier. I meant to ask you the question. So, how does daze work against, like non-lethal?
So daze is so like this you need to declare it's non-lethal, and then you get a -2 to hit with it. Daze is just a save versus the damage. There's no modifier, there's no penalty. It's just you can just say if they die, you can say I actually knock them out instead. You don't need to call it preemptively because there's no penalty involved.
Fair enough. Well, I don't have daze prepared. That was why I didn't say it. So it's just telekinetic projectile. But now I know for the future.
Gotcha. So telekinetic, make a roll. And I assume this is also non-lethal?
Non-lethal. Oh my gosh, right now. Telekinetic, then I guess there we go. Still flat-footed against this?
Yep. So yeah, just cancels out. That will not do it, I'm afraid. However, since he is restrained and knocked out of his stance, he cannot take advantage of your crit fail. Tragic for the swashbuckler.
Oof.
Is that everyone?
I think so.
Tightly within your bounds, he attempts to wiggle himself free as he tries the escape action. What
That's
is
this one.
your fort DC?
17.
He manages to wiggle his way free as he resumes his posture
No.
and then takes the stride action.
Oh
Moving
no!
25 feet down,
What did I
turning
miss?
back and facing you. He is wiggled free after taking a hit and nearly dying.
Okay.
Well,
Well-
not lethally dying.
We'll call this one a draw. You just
No.
stay back over there and I'll go my own way. Fives, over by you, the two men that you're chasing, one of them glancing over his shoulder, sees you rapidly gaining on them, and just kneels down on the ground, dropping onto his stomach and putting his hands interlocked behind his head, as the other one books it.
I love this side story going on over here. It's so good. Oh, bye.
And now you must make Sophie's choice.
Benny Hill music.
You see
Like-
the archer, like, briefly a foot sort of goes down from the hole where you saw where the ladder originally was from, but then seeing another man run by and you near, it immediately disappears and he's back behind the wooden platform once more. Back to you guys.
If we want to not lethally knock this guy out, I'm pretty
You
well
have the
equipped to
easiest
do
time.
that.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Cool.
Just don't get
5,
punched.
10, 15,
Don't crit
20,
miss.
5, 10, 15, 20. I appear behind him with 2 actions.
All right.
And I go for the punch. Woo!
Punch.
And that will hit and knock him out cold.
Sleepy.
As you're running around beside him, he begins turning his buckler towards you and says, such a fishy one.
Interesting man.
Who's next?
I'm just gonna go over here and then restrain.
All right, he does not resist. Is anyone actively trying to catch this man, like mid-initiative style stuff?
Sure. Actually. Yeah, I can just move and shoot him.
All right.
I may also be taking an amount of action.
While I'm restraining this man, I say, "You're lucky. My friends, they like to kill runners."
Oh no.
Please don't kill me.
The poor other man.
To be fair, up to this point, we haven't distinguished between runners and not.
We put our line in the sand today.
I tipped to use Ray of Frost.
Roll it. He just barely dodges the ray of frost, but seeing the attack hurtle by him, he then just raises up his hand, stops moving, and drops to his knees.
I would like if
Success.
if at all possible, if I could do this in the like brief fading lights of Swashbuckler Man's vision, Hack kind of like gets down to like a little bit of a runner's stance, and you see the scales just start to like retract into his body, but then they all concentrate around his legs. And I'm going to activate the active portion of my Drakeheart mutagen, which is somewhere.
You just get like a tackle.
Where the heck is it? Do I have it on
Or
one of my
your
abilities
run
I can
through
use?
walls thing.
No, this isn't my the run through walls thing. But the Drakeheart mutagen, I'll just have to look it up here.
Never had AON just be down like this. It's
Yeah, it
very,
was
very
really-
annoying.
Well, do you have does the Pathfinder 1E site that we used to use all the time, does that have a 2E version?
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
Hold
okay.
on. It's gonna take me just a second here.
There's a handful of other things that I just haven't really looked at, but it's like I found that if I Google like Drakeheart mutagen, the top link doesn't work. But if I scroll down a little while, I'll find like some random like easy library, and it's just got this terrible font, but it has the text on it.
Here we go. So I activate my final surge, which metabolizes the mutagen instantly, but allows me to take 2 stride actions. So
Ooh, fast.
your boy Hack is just gonna go somewhere in the vicinity, ending over here with 90 feet of movement for his 3 actions.
All right.
Nice.
just books it and just like gets to the other side of the river, like splashing through the river, and just like, you.
Oh God! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! And at that point, we are going to leave initiative as there's no active threat on a turn-by-turn round.
Kalat
Everyone
moves
seems
over.
to have surrendered, or
Kalat
just coward.
moves over to the body and picks up the arm.
You have an arm. It's red. And ends in claws, but not sharp enough to like actually be weapons.
I'll stay with the swashbuckler for now.
Okay.
Kind of tend to my wounds a bit.
You know, who would we turn these people into?
Mush.
Frog.
I come to like do the some of the restraining bits on this guy.
You're
I
able
mean-
to tie him up. He does not resist you.
So I have a couple thoughts, and then before any potential input by Brian, also is it like I'm seeing a couple options, right? You like let him go off into the woods to like, hey, your band group's disbanded, get out of here. Not a great plan because there's the giant stag lord man who kind of runs the bandits around here. I feel like still, and them just ending up in his employment again would be bad. I feel like we could probably take them to the trading post and like have someone from the city come and pick them up on like the next like trade shipment to like send them back to jail or whatever. Or like eventually we're going to need like people to run our kingdom, right? Like who are we going to employ other than people that live in this land and stuff like that? Like that's something we could be thinking about too. Those are my general thoughts so far.
See what motivated them to be here to begin with. I have a feeling the swashbuckler was a little bit different
Yeah, for sure.
than the leader.
We don't really
yeah.
know their whole story yet.
I think the only
There's
only
still
thing
Mark
that
out
might-
there, by the way.
yeah, he's flying. We're gonna go get him too. But I think the only problem with like moving them into town and waiting for people to come is that it's from the sound that Oleg made, they don't really arrive with shipments that often. We might be
Mhm.
waiting quite some.
We
don't
wouldn't
exactly have
necessarily have to wait with them though.
who's going to guard them.
I mean, if they're, sufficiently, like just I forget, was there like a jail cell kind of
Mm-mm.
space in that?
There was not.
Okay.
It was basically stables, guest house, main house, small shack for supplies.
And Oleg is not in any kind of healthy condition to be restraining anybody.
Yeah.
At some point, we could probably have kind of prison staffed
Yeah.
and built, but presently we don't really have many good options other than recruiting them or killing them.
Prison is important. Well, we can
Uh,
certainly see. We should get them all gathered up for now.
Yep, I attempt to use read aura on the halberd.
The halberd itself does not seem to be magical. The magic just seemed to be something she imbued within it.
Yep, that's what I thought. That's what I was checking for. Wave the arm around and hit the halberd with it. See if it lights up.
It does not.
Yeah.
It gets kind of bloody.
I would like to look in the box that the guy was looking at in the wagon?
That particular box, looking into it, seems to just have some what look like decent quality linens. The one box left of it is slightly ajar, and you can see several knives within.
See.
All swords, but miniature swords.
Box of knives. Interesting.
In that case, I start dragging the guy back to this area. Can I just move that full distance or do?
Yeah, we're not in initiative anymore. You can take any reasonable actions.
I go and collect the archer as well.
Okay.
As you begin approaching, he just sort of like holds out his hands and just drops his quiver and arrows down through the opening. Please just put the ladder back.
I got you. Restore the ladder.
And he threw down his dagger at the same time as the arrows. And then he
okay.
climbs down. Immediately complying with any requests.
Over here. Let's all go group up. Have a little chit chat.
He is grouped.
I like to imagine that it wasn't actually like Five's raw magnitude, but it was just that this archer happened to be afraid of heights. They were just bullying him and made him get up on the barricade today.
Like 15 feet is very jumpable.
Well, that's taller than one-story building. You can survive a one-story building, Paul.
This guy is completely convinced.
It's the kind of height that is survivable, but is pretty damn scary if you're looking at it from the top.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also if you have like no proper idea of what's actually going on below.
Straight jumping down from like 12 feet is relatively easy to do, and then if you're like hanging off 15 feet, I feel like you could probably drop pretty safely. But yeah, definitely would be in the like kind of category.
Also less safe if there's a guy with a sword at the bottom.
Yep.
Very true. Wait, Doomer, lift that cup up real quick.
I know.
I recognize that.
Yeah, when I got back from Texas, I just had like normal sized mugs, and I was like, no, this won't do. And I went out and I got 2 of these.
Yes.
Yours is significantly less faded from use.
Yeah, the inside of it is definitely got some tea coffee stain going on, but the outside's pretty good.
Nice. That's hilarious.
I go about collecting all the weaponry and wares I can find, and I do a quick search of the people who have died.
Yes, I will be typing it up. It will be a little bit.
Okay. I'll also go and collect our horses and bring them into the clearing here.
You're able to do so.
I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. Hold on one sec.
Yes, all right. So while Gerrit moves off to the river,
This may actually be a good moment for just like a couple-minute break, run to the bathroom or get drinks. Yeah,
We're approaching the limit of my time, so I was just saying.
We're already at 10. I didn't realize the time of it. So just as a quick check on that, is that like, are we at we should be ending now, or just we should be wrapping up?
I was gonna say wrapping up like 10:30, 10:45, 11.
Okay.
I was just trying to give heads up.
Yeah. So we'll couple-minute break. I'll type this up, and then we will resume shortly.
Sounds good. Do you want anything from Mickey D?
Oh yes. Is that in a chat?
It's not in chat currently, but you can just message me on Discord. I've got Ryan's order already.
When spell strike crits, it's pretty good. Feels good, especially with the step up. So sometimes the crit does less damage, but you know.
Yeah, sometimes.
I have put it in the group chat.
Okay.
Hello, I'm back.
Welcome back. So did I miss something? Did Tevin say he had to leave early today or something? And I missed it.
He said just need to wrap up somewhere like 10:30 to 11 range.
Okay. Our normal end time is what, 11 or 11:30? I can't.
Is in that range. I don't know if we had a fixed time.
Okay.
I thought 11:30 was like the dead stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're
That
like
sounds right.
11, and then 11:30 is the pushing it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds right.
Mm.
All right.
I
What's the plan, guys?
No.
Well, as usual, I'm opposed to killing unnecessarily.
Have we got news for you?
I mean,
And I'm actually vocally saying this in front of the guys, as I then turn attention towards them.
And as a quick note, is this are you waiting for the swashbuckler to wake up, or is this still with him unconscious?
I don't think I wait. I think I would start questioning the guys here before he wakes up and get like 2 different stories and see if they check out.
Let's see. And just give me 1 more minute. I'm finishing typing up stuff.
problem. Yeah, we could even like move them into separate areas and be like, all right, we're gonna question you, and we're gonna get your story, we're gonna question you, and
the
anyone
other
who
one's
lies is
already ratted you out. We're
dead.
just
All right, Ryan,
we're just
employ
trying to
your
get as much.
policing strategy.
Listen here, my friend is really about to lose his temper. I'm trying to help you out.
Good cop, bad cop.
See that fishy guy over there? He hasn't eaten in weeks. He is really looking hungry.
He's also looking slightly dried out and charred.
A little bit.
It adds to the intimidation.
Just kind of rub my like flat stomach. Bear some fangs.
You find this looking among the group.
A longbow, a crossbow, a halberd, a rapier, a buckler, a splint mail, a scale mail, a leather armor, an elixir of life, a basic mundane tools and supplies, and a box of fine liquor.
I thought that said a box of every fine liquor, and I was like, oh shit, man, let's fucking go.
Everyone that exists.
Where did the great axe come from? Oh,
Great
I
Axe
know.
was the guy who never got to play.
Yeah. Assassin monk.
Look,
That was a very fortunate turn of events, I think.
So
He's a much more of a threat if he is standing, armed, and in armor.
where is his armor, by the way?
He had the scale mail.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't seeing it. It was the first line of the second thing. Tevin, are you adding that to the party tab by any chance?
I wasn't. I can, unless you're already doing it.
Nope, go ahead. I thought you were because I saw you leaning forward.
No,
then,
I was trying to see what kind of stats a rapier gave.
And then this is just a general question. Do you like to specifically have all the loot like that, or would you rather instead see weapons and armor worth blah? I don't know if people are actively looking for mundane gear or if everyone's kind of already got what they want. Like, is this just busy work, or is this actually useful to you guys?
I don't know that I know enough to know that answer yet.
Fair.
yeah, like I said, for me, like I'm eventually looking to like have some medium armor, so we'll probably like hold on to something here. But I think that like we've almost covered the perfect gamut of medium armor in this encounter.
Only thing missing is breastplate.
The only thing that I'm looking for is components to a composite longbow to build out a composite longbow contraption thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't even be able to use that until 2nd level anyway, so it doesn't
Gotcha.
matter too much.
Okay, that should be everything that it's added. So if you want anything that's in the inventory, You can take it out.
We can equip our last person with Elixir of Life.
True that.
That's
As
me.
a quick note, the elixir was on the tiefling.
That makes sense. Big boss gotta have the big items.
Elixir of life.
And I ask one of the surviving members, where's Harvey Dent? Can he be trusted?
Here for it.
But I'm good to continue now. Just as
Yeah, cool. In a situation like an interrogation, would that be something that we would be able to like do some sort of assisting on, or
yeah, you could assist with any checks that may end up being rolled, if any.
cool?
Okay. I know I particularly am trained in intimidation and diplomacy
Mhm.
as potential options for skill checks to be used for extracting information.
I'm trained in intimidation, but I'm not necessarily very good at it. I've got a very like narrow skill set, and
I'm pretty decent at it.
Page is broken.
everything's breaking.
Everything's
just
broken.
inconvenient maintenance timing.
Yeah, I think that eventually I start getting like, I forget exactly what it is, but eventually my bestial mutagen gives me some like really cool intimidation abilities.
I'm trained in deception and diplomacy society when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh,
I'm just not good at any of those except for society.
gentlemen, have at 'em.
Yeah, so I don't know how you want to do this, but I guess we start questioning some of them about who they're working for and what they're doing here, um and where are they getting these trade goods from. And yeah, that would be some questions I have for them.
um, are you questioning them all individually as a group?
Individually.
I think that individually to cross-reference their answer, kind of like use that as bargaining chips.
Okay. So as you're sort of running through these questions one after another, you get the feeling that at least the three conscious don't really have too much of an idea of scope beyond their own camp. All three of them are aware that there's someone that Kressel was working for, and at the mention of the name Stag Lord, should you bring it up, they say, yeah, that sounds familiar, but that seems to be about the extent of their knowledge on it. Okay, sounds good. they they're all basically part of Kressel's gang of the 11. They mention, which matches the numbers you were originally told in your first battle with them at Oleg's, and that they've been here for some time, and occasionally someone tries to send a small caravan or a wagon through the stolen lands trade between Brevoy and Mivon, or just any sort of traders that get a little too far south in Brevoy. They would raid, plunder, and take whatever they have.
I would ask him what their role in the gang was. The two less combatant ones.
They immediately claim, well, we just helped out with whatever was needed. They just had us doing the manual work, as they sort of gesture back towards the wagon.
Is there any way to like verify the authenticity of that, like a claim like that?
Sense motive is a check you can make, though you don't need to in this case. It is clear
Okay.
they're not good at selling a story, and they're definitely downplaying their role of this organization. They do genuinely seem to be sort of lowest on the totem pole, but they're not just physical labor. They're
Yeah,
they're downplaying their role here.
Okay.
He was
And what
looking
is
for some
sense motive
knives.
under? Is that
It is
under
part
society?
of perception.
Oh, perception. Okay.
But
Okay.
this is not something you need to be a wise man to see. It
Yeah.
is all of you can tell that they're trying to say what they think you want them to say to be okay.
Then probably
yeah.
immediately would react to that and say, "Oh, go ahead. Sorry."
Oh, and just in these questionings, the one that was up top with a bow mentions that he was just a hunter from Brevoy. He made a living selling elk and figured that selling to bandits would be a little more profitable than trying to compete with the farmlands up north. Likewise, seeming to downplay his true role in the banditry.
Do you have any way of waking up Mr. Panache?
Medicine checks, assuming you don't want to actually use your elixir resources. But the 10 minutes to treat wounds, you can wake someone up with that as well, or you can just wait for him to naturally rise.
Yeah, I'll go over to Gerrit. Can you wake him?
I may have something. Let's see.
What do you think he has to say?
Hopefully, something as entertaining as he was saying before.
He did like to talk a lot.
Maybe something else a little more to the point.
That will pass. You may heal him for 2d8. You may make that instead just 1 if you're doing the minimum you can.
Yeah, just 1 would be ideal.
And as you treat some of his wounds, stabilizing him a bit more, and then with a bit of smelling salts under the nose, you see his eyes sort of blink awake. Oh dear.
Good morning.
I must have slipped. You'd never have beat me in a fair fight, he says with a slight grin, followed by an immediate grimace from the pain.
I'm sure. And kind of walk back over to my perch over here.
Who are you?
He goes to shakily move up to a sitting position and then goes to stand if not stopped.
I will put my hand on his chest.
Okay. He
Keep him to the ground.
just remains as he is. Sort of
Stay and rest.
in almost a overly relaxed posture as he puts his hands behind his head and just sort of stretches out relaxed. Like you'd do on a beach.
It's good to stay relaxed. So, who are you?
Policy I live by. I'm Creebus Thirlo, of course. Did you not recognize me?
It was hard when your face was in the ground.
We are new to these parts. What are you doing?
Down from the north or up from the south?
Something like that. Where are you from?
Did you have something, Robert, or was that character start?
Nope, that was Colin started talking, so I stopped.
Gotcha. I descended from the Sword Lords of Brevoy, of course, but it was a little too stifling for me there. I thought a little fresh air would do us all nice. I'm sure you agree.
I mentioned over towards the corpse of the tiefling. Do you know who she was working for?
Cressel? Yes, for the Stag Lord. He runs this whole region.
And you were working with her? For her?
Yes. With her. We were partners.
And you went by what name for your merry band?
Most would call it Cressel's gang. But we were really equal partners.
I give a toothy grin at that.
And how many of you were in this gang?
Well, he sort of glances around. I'd say about 4 now, if my math's right.
So these other 3, definitely part of the gang?
Of course.
What was that one's role? I point to one of the like one of the non-archer.
What was that one's what? I
Roll.
didn't hear you. Oh, no, just a general anything that needs doing. Moving, fighting, looting.
Ah,
He wasn't too good at it, but he gives a grin to the man. It is not returned.
I would like to mention the fives. Fives, come over here for a second.
Fives? Your
you're
name is
muted, by the way.
Fives? What happened to the first four?
You're muted, Tevin.
Happens too much.
What did you say to that?
I was saying, yes, they call me Fives because of my inspector ID. 15-5-51.
Oh, one of those types. I see.
What do you
I'm
think
sorry,
of him?
he says, looking towards Wave.
What do you think of him?
I like him. I say we kill him last.
I'm sure we can work something out.
Oh, I'm sure. We should definitely do that.
Do you have any strength that could be of use?
I'm basically the one who kept this whole gang running. I can do anything.
All right, I'm gonna take that as a
You
no.
caught me on a bad day.
We did get a glorious example of a swashbuckler on a bad day.
Ooh. Let's play a little bit of who wants to survive the most. Each one of you in turn gets to give us a piece of information that would benefit us, that we would like. Whoever gets the most is safe for the next round.
I'm the only one that knows anything worth giving, he says.
Well, then we'll
Still
let
with
the
a
other two
confident
start.
Grin.
We'll let the other two start first.
The other three have a clear, worried look. It seems that may be something they know to be true.
Then we will let the other three start first. You're up.
He sort of glances to the others and then back to you, and then towards the prone swashbuckling man. We can help you load the cart onto whatever you've brought, or bring it back.
Well, I already knew you were handyman. I need something useful, some information.
Can they carry supplies for us using the cart back and forth?
The cart itself clearly looks like it's like a horse cart, though there are not more horses here. What do you want to know?
How much food do you have? Where's the stag lord at?
He immediately begins pointing towards one of the trees. Just buried right beneath. There's a small covering of grass.
Yeah, that's good. Really good. You pass to the next round. We'll go check that information real quick.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where are the other horses? As I asked the second man.
They didn't come back.
What about the cart?
He looks towards the one on this map. That we were waiting for the horses. I don't know where it goes. The swashbuckling man. I do.
That's my
Wait,
question.
your turn. Did we find the food? Or at least unturned earth?
Walking over where he pointed, there's just basically like a covering of vegetation over a thin wooden mesh. Pulling it up, there's just some dried rations. About 15 days worth of food for a single person.
Oh, they were basically about to starve.
It's not much.
I imagine a lot of their food they probably kind of get as they go with the nearby lands and hunting and stuff.
It looks like all basically true dried rations and the like long-term storage kind of food. Unlikely to be something you'd eat every day out in the woods at camp.
I come up to our grunt bundle over here, and I kind of lean in. And I'm like, if you were to be set free right now, where would you go? What would you do?
One that had the bow speaks first. Return to Brevoy. Back to my old life. If you let me go.
I kind of like slow turn to the other two.
Yeah, we'll go to Brevoy. We can find work there. There's always work there. They both sort of chime in with each other.
Good, honest work, I presume.
Of course, yes. You get the feeling while it's not a lie, it's just kind of hard to tell because they would say anything to not die right now.
Very fair.
I don't really appreciate the information that they're kind of withholding with their roles. Hey, have you guys killed a man? I ask each of them in turn.
No, no, no. Then from behind you, that's not true. He says in an almost sing-songing voice.
Ooh, that's
Except
strike
for him,
two.
he slightly raises up a hand, pointing towards one of the laborers. He was never good enough to kill anybody.
Huh.
Poor guy. He's just getting bullied.
Well, you lie again, and I'm afraid we can't release you.
say
Do
we
you
just-
have
Well, hold
any
on.
treasure?
I say we just drown the two killers now.
Goodbye. The swashbuckler calls.
I
from the
get up
crowd.
as to move to do so.
And like,
Kind of
like
look-
as he's moving forward, it's like, wait, to redeem your lives. Do you have any treasure that is around these that you would use to buy your life?
You've already collected it.
Their lives are not
Nothing.
worth gold anyway. The lives that they
as-
killed are not either.
As Wave begins approaching, they start like shimmying back, but are unable to make any reasonable distance with their bonds. But just like 6 inches at a time.
Kind of like try to like lift them up and then pull them along.
With them restrained, they are unable to resist you doing so.
I don't particularly see any harm in letting these ones go. They don't seem like they're a danger to anyone other than themselves.
The killers?
Well, yeah, they've killed people. Isn't the law of the land by noose or blade?
Please, please, well, I'll take an honest living in Brevoy. Just let me go. He shouts.
I turn to Gerrit. Do you really think we should let them live?
I think it may be beneficial to not slaughter every bandit that we come across, but
Then they are your problem. And I drop them down onto the ground.
I kind of like gesture to Fives. Fives, I know you're a little more on the forgiving side.
Yeah.
I know you put a lot of stock in the official laws of the land, but
I come and I get right in their faces and I'm like, we are letting you go today. But if we ever cross paths, I want you to remember the favor we have done for you. And I expect you to show that kindness when we meet up again. Whether it be
of course.
food, whether it be a place to stay, whether it be information.
Anything. Thank you. Thank you both.
I
he
come
says,
up
looking
to
towards
I walk up behind the one that I had caught up to and bound, and I put my still clawed hand on his shoulder and like lean in. And if I hear about any
Shrivels
little
under your
old
claw.
ladies being robbed along the road, I will catch you.
Never. No, never.
We're really good at tracking.
He gives a terrified nod.
I will point out too that in the terms of guerrilla warfare, Small pieces of numbers that get to go away will eventually reform if left large enough. Now you
I
turn
walk
towards the
away and then I
swashbuckler.
say, then we will deal with it when it happens.
My turn to walk free? He raises his bound arms.
No.
Fives, why don't you help me with these ones?
Alright.
And I gesture for Fives to kind of we keep them bound for the time being. We kind of like walk them off to the
Yeah.
to the
Do you
north.
do the same for the third man who was not the one who killed someone, or is he still kept here for the time being?
Yeah, I plan on taking all three.
Why don't you release them apart from each other?
Smart idea.
You are able to remove their bonds and release them over time if you wish.
Yeah.
You could throw them, release their bonds, and then chuck them into the river, and then wherever they end up downstream, they probably
I
won't
think
be
they
together
might
at that
die.
point.
So keep in mind in this particular section, the
No,
rivers.
no, I mean like the big bit.
Oh, yes. If they live, they will be in different places.
I see. It's that it seems to be that dangerous.
It's
Okay.
like 60-foot long rushing current kind of river. Like for someone native to the water, you'll be fine, but it would take a truly expert swimmer to feel safe.
I'm not used to people
venturing
not being
into it.
able to swim. And everyone do
fair,
that?
Even if they don't live, they would still be in separate places.
True.
Yep. I intend for this to have the dual purpose of letting these guys go and making sure they're sufficiently afraid and indebted to us, and also getting Fives away from whatever happens potentially to this swashbuckler man, even though he's my favorite.
He is pretty good.
Wait, did we get all the information we were going to get out of the swashbuckler? Otherwise, I want to stay as the detective or the investigator. It would seem weird
that's
for me
also
to leave
fair.
at that point.
On second thought, we can stay around for a moment if you're.
Yeah.
We can wait.
Yeah,
Also,
until
if it's not gonna take.
we're done with the
Okay.
swashbuckler.
To clarify, you're basically telling the three that they're gonna be able to go, but just wait there for a moment.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
I let them know that I'll escort them with Fives when he's asked the questions that he wants to ask.
Lead your investigation, Fives, and anything left afterwards will do. While you release the other.
So I turn to the swashbuckler and I'm like, so what is this information that you think could save your life?
Well, how about the gems?
Gems?
Yeah.
Go on.
Are those useful to you? Do you find them? I mean, he looks towards Gerrit. He'd probably just want to wear them, even though they're out of fashion now. They're some Brevoy Novel years ago. And he looks around and just sort of points with his bound arms towards this watchtower. The northeast pole, just beneath it, little to the left. You'll need a shovel. There's one
I just throw over
somewhere.
to wave.
He just sort of points vaguely.
I just throw over to wave to check it out.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Is anyone like immediately continuing conversation, or are you just gonna be digging for a little while?
I assume it's here. You guys can continue your conversation if you'd like.
Well, I'm kind of waiting to see what Jimsy's talking about, like how many are. Yeah, so I'm kind of waiting.
Okay.
It takes a couple minutes, but about a foot and a half down into the earth, you eventually hear a clang with the shovel as you hit something metal. Lifting it up, there's a small, very poor quality jewelry box, about 10 inches by 6 inches by 4 inches, roughly that size. At the sound of the clang, he just calls out, "That sounds like it."
Is it unlocked? What is inside?
There is a lock on it, but it's like a very small lock, one that you could very easily just with a single bash break.
Okay.
It's more decorative than anything else, but not really nice enough to be considered real decoration. Breaking the lock, presuming you do that, you open it up and you see inside there's a necklace with a number of small studded emeralds along it and 2 bracelets, both studded with small gems as well, of rubies and sapphires.
I call out to Kalat. Are you getting anything from this?
Oh, I was just sitting in the trunk. Dig.
What'd you say?
I said I was just sitting on a trunk and letting Wave dig.
Well, I mean, are you sensing any magic from this?
Oh no, I'm not using any magic.
Okay then.
I'll
That one a
bring
bit
the
daft, then.
I'll
He
bring
says
the
with a look towards Khaled.
I'll bring the jewels back over.
I'm sure they could be made into something nice with a proper silversmith.
Do we have a sense of? Can we tell how much they're worth just by looking at it, or will we not know that?
Give me a society check.
Okay. I'm actually pretty good at this.
Society. Ooh.
Nice.
You're pretty familiar with what's in fashion, what the values of these things would be. You would reckon that the set of 3 could probably be sold for about 45 gold.
That's a lot.
Okay. We got 3 pieces, general length about 30 centimeters in diameter. Okay.
We were saving them for a bad month. The Stag Lord always gets his due, so it's useful to have a backup.
Where do you get them from?
That
Where did
one?
these come from?
I believe they were a newlywed couple. They wanted to adventure south, see the Forbidden Lands. I don't even know who calls these the Forbidden Lands anymore.
So you pay a tithe to the Stag Lord.
Yes.
When?
And then we get to live. It's a great system.
How often do you pay and when?
Every month, at the end of the month.
Where do you? Does the Stag Lord himself meet you, or do you have to, like, give it to like a courier?
He doesn't meet much of anyone anymore. There's for him. And he points out towards the bottle of fine liquors. We deliver it to his fort. They take care of the rest. I've only actually even seen him once. He was staggering that time too. I hear he used to be something special.
Where do you deliver them to? Like, where is the place?
Well, you just follow the thorn to the end. It's about 20 or so miles. Oh, sorry. That was me misreading the map. He did not say that.
Okay. I was like, dang, that's close.
Let's go.
Some people just don't know how long 20
one more
miles is.
day.
Cross the thorn, then follow it. Take a right when you reach the Shrike. It's about 30 miles.
Still not.
Oh, that is close still.
Still not that bad.
What else is
You
in the
untie
area?
me, I'll draw a little map of the river for you.
Nice try. He said he pointed to somebody else who actually does the deliveries or takes the goods.
He said he delivers it to someone else, not to the Stag Lord. He takes them to the fort, and someone else takes it.
Okay, him personally?
Sorry, I'm not following.
Like, does he personally take it, or do one of these guys take it?
Oh, he says, yes, that was my role here.
Okay.
Well, one of many.
So I want to turn to the team. I'm like, do we want to set up an ambush with using this guy as bait, or do we want to
He'll kill you all.
try and form a different plan?
This little
Okay,
band of 7, he's got, I don't know, there's probably at least 40 in there, perhaps more. Multiple bands paying tithes. If you're trying to set your sights on him, set them elsewhere.
I have a question about this campaign and Pathfinder and D&D style and
Yeah.
stuff in general. In things like this, right? Like how do we contextualize difficulty of challenge, level growth, and all of that? This is like,
Thi-
okay, this bad guy is a big bad guy. We clearly can't defeat him. This guy's like, regardless of whether he's telling the truth, like we maybe came into that knowledge already. Like we got to go do other adventuring stuff first to get stronger before we take on someone like Staglord.
This is something that I normally address at the very start of each campaign, and I just totally forgot for this campaign. So thank you for bringing that up.
Hey, good question.
So
We're gonna go kill rabbits. Be right back.
10 rat tails. Basically, the way that I run fantasy worlds, just generically fighting a guy doesn't make you go from level 1 to level 2. That's not something that everyone in the world can just do combat for 4 days and triple their power. That's not a thing. For some reason, and that reason is up to you, you are different. You have, it can be anything you want. It can be from just incredible natural potential to fate to blessed by a witch when you were young. It's entirely up to you, whatever it is, but there is something that fundamentally makes you different than everyone else. And it gives you the ability to ascend beyond that which is normally possible for most mortal men to do. Normal people cannot just train for a year and be level 20, for instance. You are not unique in this manner. There are other people, that heroes of stories and the like, who have achieved great deeds beyond what could even be considered possible to a normal man. All 4 of you are these people. You, in character, have the knowledge that you are able to, like, that you are gaining power through this. It is a feasible in-character assumption that if you test your might, test your skills, and push your limits, you will surpass them. And then if you do it again, you will surpass those limits. Does that make sense?
It does.
Little,
I
So
like
do
that
people
a lot.
like? Do
Go
people
ahead.
like this noble here? Does he just have like a above like standard human kind of like life, or does he also like have that ability?
Call it a vague ballpark of normal, typical races can be anywhere from like level 1 to 3 through like just actual mundane training skill, natural skills, things like that. Past level 3 is kind of, that's where you have that spark of whatever it is. And maybe he's got that. There's not really a way to know that in someone short of seeing them do impossible deeds. But and anyone that like
rolling
in
a
his
0.
level is in the range of normal, feasible, basic man with training.
Okay.
I see.
A little bit of like
Only the elite can get a 0 on damage. It's impossible
A
for the
little-
normal folk.
a little bit of DBZ where it's like every now and then you kind of know that you got to go hit the hyperbolic time chamber, but like if you go fight, you might. I think that
Okay. So we know that we have to stress our limits. Canonically, it's more like we have to go test ourselves a little bit more against the surrounding side. Then
We'd
take
be
on
pretty
something
keyed into the idea that like taking on the Stag Lord in our current form would be suicide.
Yeah, I
We
mean
should
he's
probably-
got 40 dudes. We had a non-zero chance of losing to 7.
Yeah, and we dismantle 3 with like 1 action, and having a surprise.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, I walk back over here. And I'm like, okay, we don't want to go trying to.
Change the plans.
But-
Very drastic.
Information's
like-
still great.
I go and I'm like, do you know of any other bandit camps nearby?
I don't know their spot, but I know that there's another 2 out here.
Okay. In which
Much
direction?
like Cressel's gang. Let me look at the main map for a brief moment.
He pulls out the main map that's no longer covered by the fog war. Yes.
Also, while we are out of combat, I'm going to move you back to the main map just so you can see for context as well.
Fair enough.
Every time I wait for it to load, every single time, I'm just staring at this black screen.
But then he mentions, well, there's 3 groups. Cressel had between the Thorn and the Shrike to the north. I don't know the names of the other 2. I've met one once before. He was a bit of an ugly fellow. Had a spear. But I know he's got the western region. South of the Thorn is his territory. And then there's another, I believe, either a gnome or a halfling. They always look the same, and they're both just as annoying. East, out past the Shrike, and south of it. That's his territory. He's a creepy one of those witches. I think Dovin trained him.
Which east past the Shrike? And then,
Go
sorry, the
east.
other one you said was where?
South
the
and
Thorn.
west of the Thorn, which is the river you're on.
Ugly guy south and west of the Thorn. Short guy east of the Shrike and south.
Question. Do we
Yes.
want to leave our kind of final decision wrap up on this situation for discussion in between and or / next time and wrap up here since it's 11 o'clock?
It's a good stopping point,
Seems reasonable.
if we want to call here.
Sure.
Also,
Pull
Tevin,
some
the
heads
short
and
guy's
think
got
about it.
ties to Dovin potentially, so I mean,
That seems like a
Ooh.
good path.
Was
blood
Dovin
mage.
short? I can't remember. Did we
No,
have
the-
that? knowledge?
he
No,
said
he was
that-
saying he was like a witch kind of guy.
Yeah, who was
Oh, okay.
trained by Dovin.
You would know Dovin himself is a human.
Sick. Nice.
All right.
Good session.
Thanks, everybody. That was
Yeah.
awesome. We're making progress. We found a river.
Making
The most important
progress.
thing.
Praise the river.
Praise the river
Oh,
and the life that it
Wave
gives.
almost died. Campaign.
I was
He was
fine.
fine.
Everybody's gonna go down every once in a while. It
Yeah.
happens.
So,
If
just
we
as
lost
a quick
half a
note,
day to a fight in the forest, I think you die, right?
what was
Was
that?
that?
I mean, you know,
Like if we
Oh.
lost half a day in the forest because we had to do a fight, you would have died.
potentially.
You know, it'll be fine. We're just
also,
really getting into the ribs.
as a quick note on that, like that, I was sort of assuming you are going for speed with your travels. If we haven't gotten into it yet, but half of your goal is not just about bandits; it's to explore the stolen lands.
Mm-hmm.
Moving through a hex is not exploring it. That is just going from this point to that point over there.
Fair.
Exploration is something you can do over the course of a day, where you're not like going every square foot of the hex or anything, but you're plotting out the landscape, the hills, the valleys, where water sources are, where a road potentially could be one day built, and that is honestly like your task here, is to map out this unmapped region.
Fair.
When you are doing that, there's going to be a whole lot more sources of water that aren't on like the main map, because maybe it's a small lake that's only 500 feet wide and it's not enough to be on the map, but it's enough to not die in
Yeah.
per wave. And exploration finds those.
Cool. That would be pretty good to maybe
Yeah.
spend some time doing. Now that
So,
Oleg's isn't just like an immediate threat of death.
yeah. I was gonna say, it seems like we solved Oleg's bandit problem for the time being. Our next step is probably start doing the exploration phase.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, we definitely chill out a bit. We're not really time pressed at all anymore.
All right. So
Alright.
yeah,
and we have enough gold to get some food and some basic supplies to the
yeah.
town.
So we know currently we know where 2 other bandit camps are, or which direction they are,
Yeah.
and we got rid of the immediate danger, so now we have room to explore without running into them. Likely.
Yeah.
I think this
Also-
north of the Thorn was their kind of domain. So
Robert, we have a lot more than money for extra supplies. We could buy a magic item with that.
What? I
Gold
don't know
and
how much gold is
Pathfinder.
worth.
Gold and
that's
Pathfinder is
right.
completely different. They're like 35 gold, I think, is like a +1 magic item or something like that.
Correct. 35
Okay.
gold for a +1 potency.
Like we got a lot of money. out
Oh,
of this.
holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. Pathfinder 2e is a silver economy, so gold is big money just for being gold, basically.
Money, right? Sick.
All right.
Well,
All right,
y'all
I'm gonna
have a good
jump out
night.
of here.
Okay. Did we add the gyms to the?
I did not.
Okay.
I
I'll
did.
add-
Oh yeah,
I did.
Okay.
Oh,
You
Robert
did?
did?
Make sure
Okay,
someone did.
cool.
Deuces.
All right. Thank you all for playing.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks for the session.
Oh, goodbye.
That was awesome. Pathfinder is great. It's 11. I could play like a TFT or something, but I think that I see my boy Mildred's online. I'm gonna send y'all over to Mildred. Can't not. You know what I mean? So we're just gonna go. Mildred sounds good. I'm gonna send you guys over there. Thanks for hanging out today, and I'll be back tomorrow. Is Throwback Thursday, so we're gonna be back tomorrow. Peace out. Great nap.
I'm good. Remember when Moni Myrtle totally violated Harry? She's like, look at that cock, Harry. Harry. Yo, Paradox. Yo, Pariado. Thank you. Oh my god. Paradox. I can't pronounce things right. What up, baby? What